What's going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Blam back in the building with another episode of the Shop Podcast, the best damn gaming podcast on the weekends, bar none. Shout out to everybody watching live right now, everybody in chat, man. I see you, Taylor, Shonsu, Cypher, RSJ, everybody hanging out in here. Once again, retweet the link, let everybody know. This is what we do every single Saturday, man, at the shop. You're going to go ahead and get that good gaming news. Get in here, kick your feet up, have a good time, man. This is what we do here every Saturday. But I don't want to talk too much. We got a phenomenal guest. Man has not been on the show for a little while now, but he is a family member coming live all the way from the realm of the Lords, man. Shout out to Lord Addict for hanging out with us, brother. How you been this week, man?
Doing pretty good, man. I appreciate the invite. I just got back from watching Mario.
Okay.
Very recommended. I don't know what the people that were reviewing movies smoke. I think they just don't play games, so they didn't really like pick up some of the Easter eggs that was in that game. But then
Yeah.
again, you know, my girl, she don't really play Mario Kart or anything like that, and she was enjoying it. So I don't know what's going on with some of these people. I really have no idea.
I feel like, especially with a movie like that, a lot gets lost in translation depending on who's reviewing and if they're familiar with Mario or the franchise. Like if you're going in as you don't not familiar with the franchise, like you said, that was a ode to all the fans. And if you're not a fan of Mario, you're not familiar, you're not going to catch a lot of that. You're not going to get that feeling that a lot of us would get going to the movies watching that movie. But shout out to you, brother, hanging out with us, man. Once again, from the realm of the Lord. Shout out to everybody, ILP, Cog, Sav, King David, everybody at LogNet, all the writers, everybody over there doing a damn good job. So you guys know what we do. We roll out the red carpet for all the guests here at the Shop Podcast. Do me a favor, go support this gentleman and all the content that ILP is doing over there, man. One of the best group of gamers you can go follow. High quality, integrity first, so integrity first, high quality information that they provide the community. So thank you for hanging out with us once again, bro. We got a great show lined up. But let me pass this over to one of my two awesome right-hand men, Mr. Pong Harvey, Pong Soul. Been a long week, brother. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. Woke up to a DM from Steel. He was not doing well today.
Yeah, shout out to Steel, man. Hopefully he feels better.
Yeah, it's bad when we're not going live on Saturday morning for Living Split Screen. So caught me off guard. I hit the wife up, thought it might have a honey-do list, but then all of a sudden, our Saturday brothers, that's right, Kay Asante and Everborn. Kay Asante hit me up in the DMs. So I got to hop on the Gaming Circle podcast. So I got my normal routine in somewhat this morning, right? And got to get a show in. We went for 3.5 hours, which is a little light work compared to me and Steel, but that's how they roll over there. So got the juices flowing. But no, man, the week's been great. We've got a fantastic guest. Attic, always great to hear your thoughts, man. Glad you could join us tonight, brother. Appreciate you and all the Lords as always. And
he dropped out on that. I think Cam dropped out, but he'll
dropped out. That's fine. He's been doing a lot of stuff. He's been moving everything else. But man, shout out to the Lords for all their packs covered that they did and all that good stuff too as well. But yeah, my week's been busy. I've been grazing like a fat cow everywhere. So can't get enough. I found the replacement for Vampire Survivors Edition, and that is Loop Hero. Loop Hero came out this week on Game Pass, and now that I understand it, now that I've played it and figured it out, it's got the same qualities as Vampire Survivors does.
I gotta try it now, man.
In some ways. I won't say it's quite as addicting as Vampire Survivors, but my God, for a small little indie game, and of course, this has been out for longer than Vampire Survivors. This was out on PC for a long time. It's published by Devolver. You know Devolver don't miss. Yeah. So, but now that I've gotten into it, yeah, everybody should give this a go and see if it's for you. It's an auto battler. You don't even move your character, whereas in Vampire Survivors, you're moving your character. You don't move your character. Your character's on a loop, hence part of the name. But you're collecting loot. And you gotta go through every time you battle, you get some loot, you get a weapon or get some armor or shield or whatever, and you gotta figure out which ones you want to use. They've all got attributes, they've got different rarities and all that kind of stuff involved.
Ooh,
and then Loop Hero, yep. And then what you get is a blank board, basically a blank, except for the loop that you're running around on is completely black. And then you get these cards, you get these tile cards, and you actually fill out the map with mountains and meadows and all sorts of stuff. And then you can wind up adding like haunted groves on your path, which spawn additional monsters and that kind of stuff. Fantastic game. Having a great time with it. You go back after you die or you retire because you can choose to retire from that current loop.
Yeah.
And you go back to a main base and you kind of build out your base. You meet some characters. Really, really well done, though. I can see why so many people were praising this game. So I've been having a great time with Loop Hero. And then I got like 10 other games I've been getting down and dirty with, as always. Andromeda has been there. I tried out Iron Brigade from 360, which also dropped on in the Game Pass as well. Tower defense, shooter, where you drive a mech around. A lot of people probably never even tried it back in the day on 360. That's now available again. That's from Double Fine. So fantastic characters, really funny writing, dialogue. It's old, but I don't mind old, so I go back and play those types of games. So getting ready for Ghostwire Tokyo next week, and I'll be hitting something new. But this week has been a bunch of grazing. But we got some topics to get into. Again, fantastic to have Attic here. Again, shout out to you, brother, for you and everybody, all the Iron Lords, for your PAX coverage. Just fantastic work out there. Just really doing the community a service. So thank you all.
And I know that audio is pretty rough for our PAX.
It's fine. It's not a problem, man. It doesn't bother me.
No, it was a problem. It's not gonna happen.
I know it's a problem for you guys. I know you guys talked about it last Sunday.
Quality control.
I understand.
Man.
I understand. Right? I do. But I still enjoyed the content for sure. So thank you for that, man. But let's get down to business here, PTK. Let's go.
Let's get into it, man. We got to throw this over to Fuzz first, man. But it's been a good week. Once again, chat, you guys are amazing. Hit that like button if you're brand new here. Subscribe to the channel. Tell everybody the Shop Podcast is live. That link is already good to go. It's already warmed up, so go ahead and fire that thing out the cannon. Let everybody know we live here. But before we get to the meat of the show and get the actual show started, let's go and throw this over to Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere, who is via satellite right now, traveling. He's in the middle of traveling, man. How you doing, Fuzz?
I'm doing good. Haven't done much gaming over the past few days. Been on the road a bit out here in Florida right now, but man, glad to be here with you guys, and it's awesome having Attic on here again. Man, this is going to be a good show. Can't wait to get into these topics, but yeah, let's do this.
All right, man. All right, like I said, so we working with the hotel Wi-Fi here. So just FYI, chat. So Fuzz may be botting a little bit ahead of time. Just want to let y'all know he is aware of that already. So, but I appreciate you guys. Shout out to Stanley in chat, Silent, everybody hanging out with us. But let's go ahead and get started, man. We got a lot to cover, and we starting with the poll of the week, man. The poll was lit this week, almost 800 votes. You guys been going crazy with the polls, so I appreciate you guys taking part in that. You guys seem to be enjoying them more and more. So follow me on Twitter every Monday. That poll of the week will be right out the oven every single Monday, man. So go check it out. But poll of the week this week was a good one. Pretty obvious one. This was kind of this is my olive branch to you, Pong, really. So
I know. Anytime there's Starfield in it, I know you're speaking to me.
Yeah, I'm speaking your language. So this is to stave off you taking over the show one more week. So you committing mutiny one more week. So I got to throw a Starfield.
I'm just glad you realize the coup's always in the background.
Yeah, I got to pay my dues, man. I don't need my knees broke, man. Nah, but shout out to everybody who partook in the poll, man. You guys are awesome. So poll of the week was, if Xbox could only make one custom console for a game coming this year, what game should it be? So we had some choices. We had Starfield, Redfall, Forza Motorsport, and then a bonus was Hellblade 2. So this was a landslide. Like I said, almost 800 votes, and 75% of them, Starfield right out the gate. We don't even really need to talk about the other three, but we're going to start with you, Addict. Is this pretty odd? Was this poll too obvious, Addict? Would you take the same choice or what?
Yeah, I'm a big Starfield fan. I think Starfield's going to do numbers, so I hope it does. If Starfield comes out and it's like a 60-something on Metacritic, I will log off of Twitter for a couple days. I don't personally feel like I can handle that much smoke, because I think there's going to be a lot of smoke, like an absurd amount of smoke. I will wake up to 20 plus notifications. I will check the box, and then I will probably refresh to 20 some notifications again. Like, I can't imagine the amount of people that's going to consistently tag me and stuff if that happens. Please don't let that happen.
Yeah. So you going custom console all the way. What in reality? Now I know we fantasy football in here, Addict, but in reality, what are the odds we get a custom console? Man, I know it's floating around out there.
Well, considering I would say a lot of the, the production has been fixed at this point, I would say it's a good chance that you might get a Starfield. Starfield's probably arguably one of the most important games that Xbox has ever delivered in terms of first party. So I think there is a decent chance you'll see it.
Okay. I like that. I like that breakdown. So once again, he rolled with the majority here. Starfield, 75% of almost 800 votes voted Starfield. That shows you, people are waiting on this game, man. People are chomping at the bits, and we want a custom console would be phenomenal. I love all the choices, really. I think Hellblade 2 could be a really cool custom console. I think that would be really, obviously, the design choices, we'd have to see that. But let's go ahead and throw this over to you. I'm going to say Pong for last. This is pretty obvious that I'm doing this, but we're gonna throw this over to Fuzz next, man. Where you at out of those choices, or if you had a choice that wasn't part of the poll, which one would you want a custom console for?
Well, my obvious choice was Forza, just being a Forza fan. So give me a basic console with racing stripes, or do like the golf oil or golf fuel, paint scheme where it's like the powder blue and orange kind of deal. Something along those lines would be pretty cool, but I have a feeling that at most we'll get is probably like a custom controller or something like that. But I would love to see a Forza edition, Series X. Series S would be okay as well, but yeah, the Starfield one, it is more of the obvious choice. But I gotta push for them to do something for Forza for me.
Okay, Fuzzy, don't you have some gators to go visit?
Nah, Fuzz is not going to no water. I'll tell you that right now. So Fuzz is staying away from the knives. But yeah, no, but either or, like I think that's a great choice too. Forza will be cool. Obviously, Forza, you being a racing fan, is your first choice. But Starfield, man, like it's interesting. We got that controller, essentially that rumor / leak essentially about possibly a controller. So that may put, add a little bit fuel to the fire regarding Starfield and us actually getting a custom console. What was the last custom console Xbox had?
Halo.
I think the Halo.
Halo?
Yeah.
Halo was the last one? Halo, okay.
That was available for public. I mean, they've given away a ton of custom consoles, but I think Halo was the last
public
one.
Purchase was the Halo. Okay,
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
All right. So that seems to be going away of the dinosaurs, man. I know production costs can be pretty high on those custom consoles, but I really hope they really understand the significance of a game like Starfield, and they say, you know what? Well, let's go ahead and just pull the trigger, right? I'd like to think that's part of the big rollout. Now, I actually want to ask Addict that question as well too. Like, to me, that just makes sense for a rollout of a game the magnitude of Starfield. Would you agree with that as well, Addict?
Oh, I didn't know you was talking to me.
Yeah. My bad.
I feel like when it comes to these type of games, there's a couple things that would make sense, but this particular, like Starfield, it's so gigantic. I don't see a realm where they don't consider it important enough to do it. I just don't see it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Like you said, this is a really big deal for Xbox as far as Redfall's coming out before. That's going to be big, but Starfield's really that's like the people are going to look at that point and they're going to put a check on that date, and that's going to be a point that we're going to go back and look like, for better or for worse, at where Xbox is and the direction going forward for the rest of this year. So last but not least, go ahead.
I was going to say, what I wouldn't be surprised?
What?
If they do somehow get their hands on a Call of Duty, like we think they're going to,
if
every year there's a Call of Duty console.
Well, I mean, we're going a direction of no concessions, so you never know. Phil might be looking like custom consoles back on the table, boys.
For sure, makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let me throw this over to you, Pong. I know you've been chomping at the bits. I saved you for last on purpose, chat. You guys know, anytime we talking about Todd Howard, Bethesda, anything sci-fi space, I gotta save Pong for last. So where you at on this, Pong? I know it's pretty obvious what your choice is.
Yeah, 75% of the people were right. Everybody else was wrong, obviously. That's just how it's hands down. This isn't even close. It shouldn't have been even 75%. It should have been 90 plus. Listen, Starfield is the biggest game that they've launched. We've talked about this probably. I think many of us are in agreement since Halo CE. This will be the biggest first party title to come out since then for Xbox specifically, and it's going to have the biggest impact potentially. Again, we still have to get the game, and the game still has to, as Attic kind of alluded to, be good. They could really screw it up and it wouldn't have that impact. But let's just assume, as most of us are, that this is going to be another generational type game, a genre defining type game from Todd Howard and the A team over at Bethesda. And if we go down that route, this is the biggest launch they've had since CE. So this game does deserve a console. And a lot of times with custom consoles, they're for the hardcore fans of that specific game. A lot of it, you don't necessarily make a big production run of them.
Yeah.
Now we've seen Xbox, not have Series X's available despite the shortages, being over with, according to most reports. We have not seen the Series X in the wild a lot, hardly at all. Some people have never seen them in the wild yet. I haven't seen one at my local Target. I've seen a PlayStation 5, but I haven't seen a Series X. I've seen Series S's. So it's potential here that they are holding back some stock, not only for Azure and the server blades, which we know they've been upgrading nonstop, but also for a run of Starfield consoles, because this will be one of the hottest collectible consoles out there that's been produced in a long time. The great thing about this console as well is that Starfield, we're still going to be playing it most likely in 10 years from now, 15 years from now, just like we are with Skyrim. So that console stays relevant. You're going to be looking at that thing for a long time. It stays relevant. And even when we move into the next generation, you're still going to be looking at that Starfield console with pride. So that's the cool part about it. And then you throw in the aspect of the sci-fi genre and what you can do with that. And we saw that controller, which no confirmation whether or not it's real or not. Kay Asante has stated that he believes it is real, that he's got information that is real. It was very well done, whoever did it. It was very professional. I could see that being it. But everybody who saw that console or that controller, most people who saw that controller were like, this thing looks absolutely fantastic, because the design of the Series X and the controller works with sci-fi, right? We're working with technology here perfectly. So they can come up with a great looking console for Starfield. It's going to sell like crazy. The hype is real for Starfield. If it comes out and drops and hits the way everybody's expecting it to, you're not going to be able to find those consoles. You're going to have to pre-order them. You're going to have to be waiting. And I think that's the best way, one of the best ways they can go about celebrating their biggest launch since Halo CE, by having a custom controller, by having a custom console. Obviously, we know we're going to get a collector's edition as well with the watch and the case potentially. This is going to be a huge selling point for Microsoft. And, obviously we've talked about it, Game Pass, all that kind of stuff is going to see the positives, but having the console specifically will be a big giant W for Xbox on launch day.
Agreed. I agree 100%. I think we've all, it deserves, like you said, and I'm gonna get into this. Let me get to the super chat real quick, because I kind of want to double back on something that you said here. A pretty bold claim, but I'm kind of thinking about it. So shout out to Jay Rember for the $2 super chat, man. He said hit that like button. So appreciate you, Jay, for the $2 super chat. Yeah, you guys are right. Hit the like button, man, on your way, and appreciate the support from everybody watching. Everybody that's gonna be watching on the replay later on. Thank you so much for tuning in. Got a great show lined up, but I want to double back on something you said. You said this is the biggest launch game. This is the biggest first party game.
Yep.
All right. So biggest or most important? I want to make sure we make the right distinction.
This is the most important.
Okay. Because all right.
That's what I meant by biggest. I didn't mean like sales wise or anything like that, because we know that's not going to be the case. But no, most important. If that's what I was using biggest for. So,
okay. And I want to throw that at you, Attic, if you caught that. Do you think this is the most important first party launch for Xbox since Halo CE? Would you agree with that?
No, I think Halo Infinite was the more important.
I
feel like they did a decent job, but they dropped the ball at the same time when it came to Halo Infinite. And I feel like there'd be a lot of good momentum with Xbox right now if they was able to hit Halo Infinite the way it should have been hit.
Ooh, so what's the because I know Pong, I know you're I get your point, Pong. What's the distinction for you, Addict, as far as like Starfield versus the important? Is it just the legacy of Halo already on Xbox? Is that kind of puts it over the top?
I think it was just the fact that we haven't had a Halo in a while since that at that time. I think that was going into another generation that people really wanted to see what Halo could be. I think Halo was on a downward trend and people were expecting it to start to spike back up. I also feel like Halo Infinite at that time was coming into a point where like Xbox was down.
Yeah,
But I wouldn't say it's like as bad as it was during the Xbox One generation, but it wasn't much better. I actually felt like Halo Infinite had more going for it than Combat Evolved did, because Combat Evolved is what defined Xbox, but they went in there with the assumption not knowing anything. Xbox could have easily have died and no one would have cared at that time because it was new. But going into the Xbox Series X, I felt like people was looking at Halo Infinite to be that light at the end of the tunnel. This is where stuff's going to start to trendward up. This is when we're going to start to see these first party titles, and that's their flagship. And I think people are looking at Halo to lead the way, and they didn't. You know, as far as if it was Elder Scrolls 6 we're talking about coming out this year, I would say Elder Scrolls 6, but we're not there because at the end of the day, Starfield is still a new IP that they got to prove that they've went somewhere besides Fallout 76.
Got it. Okay, all right. And I don't know if you want to present your side of the argument, Pong. Not necessarily the argument, but just kind of weird. No, just because it's interesting to see the difference between.
This is I understand Addict's point, obviously, and it's certainly a different perspective to look at it that way. Halo is, again, one of the pillars of the gaming industry. I've said that many times as a casual Halo fan. It's one of the pillars, right? If you're going to have a Mount Rushmore, Master Chief is going to be up there of video games. So that's undeniable. However, when Halo Infinite was about to launch, Halo's importance overall to the video game industry had already been diminished because of the changes to the industry, because of how many different competitors there are. Not to say that it didn't still have the namesake. Of course it did. Not to say that it didn't still have the power behind it. Of course it did. We saw the hype leading up to that launch. Starfield, to me, even as a new IP, is the actual start of the new Xbox era, right? This signals the start of the new Xbox era. Now, you could argue with me about, Redfall coming out first, all that kind of stuff. But Starfield, coming from Todd Howard and the A-team over Bethesda, people who have a history of genre-defining, generational type games, now underneath the umbrella of Xbox. This right here signals, because they've now delayed it twice, okay? They have put resources, time behind it, no matter how many people are going to try to take it away from Microsoft and say it's not a Microsoft IP. They were already working on it. All that is BS at the end of the day. Without Microsoft, this game would have launched, right? In probably not a great shape a lot earlier. But Microsoft is the ones that allowed Todd and his team to continue to work on this game. So if it comes out and it hits, Microsoft is due all that credit. This is the game that is going to be current gen only, and it signals, like I said, the start of the new Xbox that includes Bethesda. And if you get a genre-defining, generational type game from Todd and that team over there that is associated with Xbox and that ecosystem, I think that's why it's the most important game coming.
I think that one thing this game does do is it signifies why they invested into Bethesda.
Yep.
Good point.
Because showing if Starfield comes out and it does extremely well, people's going to start to hype up everything Bethesda again. But if it doesn't do well, then people will be like, why'd you buy this? Why'd you invest this money into it? Why didn't you just put it into your own studio? So I would agree when it comes to like the new Xbox era, you are right. I think Halo Infinite was more important to the brand itself to show that we're taking Halo seriously. We hear your criticisms, but I will agree with you that Starfield is going to show where the future of Xbox is going to be.
Yeah,
makes sense. And I think that's a good distinction. And shout out to you for saying that too, because there's a bit of a difference. You know what I mean? The two franchises have different responsibilities, and I think that's kind of the perspective you got to look at it. One's a brand new monster IP, a game that Todd's been sitting on in his head for 20 plus years, and then another one is the pillar, like you said, Mount Rushmore level game at Halo. So it's interesting to see. Between the two, they're both extremely important to the brand, to Xbox overall in the future. So we'll definitely got to wait and see where we're going with that. But a great warm-up topic. Once again, poll of the week is always lit. Go follow me on Twitter. You want to be a part of that every single Monday, man. Shout out to everybody watching too. You guys are freaking amazing and super awesome. So we're gonna get into the meat of the show. We got some cool stuff to talk about this week. And I know you guys have heard some of this stuff on other podcasts, but haven't heard it quite like this. So I'm actually going to take the messy topic today. I don't say it's messy, but I'm going to take the topic that jumped off the page this week for me. And that is the rumored PlayStation handheld. We got some information. Shout out to, I'm looking at the article here on Inside Gaming, Tom Henderson. So shout out to them for putting out some information regarding a possible Sony handheld coming in the near future, dubbed the Q Lite. Okay. Now just some quick details I will read here in the article. Let me just pull it up here. So essentially, let's see, it's supposed to be remote play. So it's supposed to be supporting 1080p 60 frames. We don't know about the size. I know in the article it says massive 8-inch LCD touchscreen. I don't know if that's not confirmed, obviously. But yeah, there's some concerns about it, and there's some excitement about it. And I want to get everybody here on the panel. We'll start with you, Attic. Just regards, and when you first heard, one, do you believe that this is something that they're actually doing? Attic, two, when you first heard it, what was your immediate thought? Just getting some of the details that we've got.
It's true. Like,
okay,
I've heard about it for a while.
Okay.
I don't care though. Like, not even a little bit. I think that the reason that Nintendo's done extremely well with handhelds is they build games that make sense to go on the road.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to play God of War Ragnarok on the bus. It's just not going to happen. I will play Pokemon on the bus. I will play Fire Emblem on the bus. That makes more sense. I don't want to play Uncharted 8 on the bus. It's not going to happen. I'm most likely going to wait till I'm home to play that at a more comfortable environment than I am to go out there and do that. But it does look like it's not going to be that kind of system. It's rumored that it's just going to be an extension of your PlayStation 5. It doesn't really have any online capabilities.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'm interested and I'm not interested at the same time. I'm interested to see more competition for the Switch because I want Nintendo to get the head out of their ass. But at the same time, I don't care about that. I don't care about the Steam Deck because I want to play. I care more about the Steam Deck because I feel like that's more intriguing than this. Yeah. But I don't care about either of them.
Okay. All right, in chat, let us know. You guys let us know too in chat. What do you guys think about this new possible PlayStation handheld, this Q Lite device? What's up, Boogie? What's up, Talos? Let us know what you guys feel about that, man. Blue, what's up, brother? But yeah, I agree. So it's weird for me, and I thought about this, right? Shout out to Risk It. I was on the podcast yesterday with everybody, and we had a lengthy conversation about this. And Umber brought up some great points. It doesn't make sense, in my opinion, Addict. What are we doing? Because you have a VR2 that you just released? Is that dead in the water? What are we doing with that? Like, which direction are you going exactly on top of? You haven't built out your infrastructure to really support this handheld device. You don't have a bunch of compelling games that you can take on the go. Now, you got some old games, you got some third-party stuff, but you haven't really built this out yet. Maybe they're lining this up with the whole 10 games as a service games or 15 they're planning on releasing in the next like 3 or 4 years. Maybe that's the long-term play, but I don't know. To me, there's nothing exciting about this handheld outside of just some cool tech and finally Sony maybe taking a chance. But the fact that it's extremely closed environment, there's really no use outside of, like you said, remote play as far as we know. And that's just with the information that we have. Maybe they can open that up. Maybe they don't. But it just feels like we're going to do something and we're going to hope that this works. It doesn't make much sense for me. the decision to go this route?
This isn't a handheld. If we're gonna take the information at face value, this is an accessory. This is a controller.
It's
This
just
is a Wii. This is a Wii U remote.
Yeah.
Okay. No, literally, that's exactly what the Wii U.
Yeah,
did,
I don't get it, man. Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. I had this conversation, a great conversation with Kay Asante and everyone this morning about this as well. It doesn't make any sense because number one, they're not going to come in at a low price. Okay, it's Sony. Their Elite controller goes for $200, right? $199. You're going to throw on an 8-inch touchscreen. Again, I'm just taking all this information at face value because we don't know for sure.
Yeah.
Nothing's official. So let's just take it at face value and assume this is all correct. 8-inch touchscreen. You're going to keep the haptics in there. So now you got an Elite controller with an 8-inch touchscreen. You think they're going to bring that in at $150? You think they're going to bring that in at $99? No. You think they're going to bring that in at $200? Probably not. You're probably looking at $250 for this thing, right? What is your market for this? What is this supposed to do outside of your absolutely die-hard PlayStation fan base that must own everything PlayStation? And there is a group of those people, right? And you'll be able to sell them this accessory for $250, and you'll be able to make some money on it, right? So that's what you're going for here. How does this expand your, ecosystem? How does this help you sell hardware? I don't know. I can't. I've tried to wrap my brain around this. And again, even though I don't own a PlayStation, I still try to put myself in the customer's shoes and try to say, if I had a PlayStation 5, what would I use this for? Again, if you have one TV in the house and your partner is watching a movie and you want to play PlayStation 5, well then this works. But with all the connectivity,
that's super specific scenario.
Right, that's super specific, right? Yeah. When you're on the toilet and you don't want to pause God of War, I mean, that's basically where we're at with this thing. So I just don't know how it helps you. I would love, like Addict said, I want competition for the Switch. When I first heard the smoke that they were potentially working on a handheld, and you guys know me, I'm not a handheld guy. However, there's been two exceptions to that rule: the Sony PSP and the Sony Vita. I loved both of those systems, right? And I was kind of excited that Sony might be jumping back in the handheld market again because I want that competition. I want a full-blooded version of a handheld, unlike Nintendo's, 8-year-old, phone tech, right? I want something that's going to run more modern style games. And I thought that Sony, being really good at hardware, was finally deciding to take the chance, jump back in to the pool. And I would have been excited for that. But then this information came out and I just started thinking, I'm like, what are they doing here? Now, the one thing I will say is the code name is Q Lite. Anytime, even in a code name, you use the word light, it makes you believe that maybe there is a fuller version coming at some point, right? Maybe this is the
Watch
start.
They mean the fuller version is the PlayStation 5.
Well,
this is called the PlayStation 5 Lite.
Basically, right?
And that's certainly possible, right? Or maybe they do have another one planned that actually has an OS, maybe Android backed, something like that, where you can actually download some simple games that you can actually do more than, you don't have to be connected, online all the time to your PS5. That it actually can do it has some playability outside of that. Maybe that's in the background. Maybe this is just a start of something. But again, as an accessory, as a controller, because that's really what it is, I don't see where it has a place. And I can't tell you what Sony's thinking right now. Putting R&D, resources, time into this on top of the PSVR 2 when they're in an absolute battle right now with Xbox. And they've got to make up ground in so many other areas. Like, I know this is what you do, Sony. And this is what you're known for. You're known for hardware. You're known for putting this kind of devices out. But right now, you gotta shore up some holes. You got a lot of holes to fill right now to catch up where you're lacking going into the next generation. And I don't know if this is going to help you in that way. So that's where I'm at with it.
And the sad part is they're going to make this handheld, and it's going to flop if it doesn't have the accessories and all the bells that it needs to compete with something like the Switch and the Steam Deck. And then they're going to come out and say, well, we're never going to attempt a handheld again because we tried.
We tried.
It didn't seem like the market's good enough for us to do that. It's like, no, the market can easily survive with another one.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't sit there and make like Borderlands handheld edition. Like Like the reason Pokemon did so well is because they had games that was good on the go. They had the Pokemon games, they had the Animal Crossing games, they had games that you didn't need to put 100% your effort into, that you could travel and still pay attention to your surroundings to a degree, and that worked good on the go. But to me, all they're gonna do is they're gonna make it to where you could just wirelessly play whatever you're playing on your TV on this device, because right now Xbox already does this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
You could play on your PC from your Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Play on your phone.
And
Well, you can already do that with PlayStation as is, and same thing. You can already do that with your phone.
Right.
The big problem I have is that I have a Steam Deck, and I can actually do remote play on the Steam Deck. I just don't feel like adding this third party app Chiaki, where you have to put all your credentials in there. Like if PlayStation was smart about it, especially considering they're doing that whole slate, put their games on PC. If you already got the games in the Steam store, why not just make a direct remote play app for the Steam Deck? Like, yes, it's like a PC. It's a portable PC essentially, but just make it where it's a easy click type of thing, as opposed to download this app, hook up a keyboard, put in your credentials, copy and paste some more credentials. I really don't feel like doing that, but I'm not going to spend. I like that you guys think it's going to be $250. This is Sony. If this thing is anything under $400, I'll be amazed. Like $300,
it's going to be $250, and they make no money off of it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. $250 was crazy. I know you said that earlier. I was not anywhere near $250.
Let me ask you guys a question. Would you guys be okay with it being like $400 if it was a legit portable device where you can actually play portable games? They came out with a bunch of studios that's working.
Dude, they sell $1 trillion of them things, dude.
They
sell $1 trillion.
But to me, I don't feel like they're gonna do what they need to make sure this is successful. Right. They're just gonna have the current studios they made that already making PlayStation 5 games. They're gonna go in there and be like, okay, we know you're making PlayStation 5 games, and some of you are making PlayStation 4 games. We know you making VR games too, but we got something else for you to make. And it's just like, because to me, the only truly way to support a portable thing is you got to really hit the indies hard, and you got to open up 4 to 5 studios that make nothing but portable style games. And I just don't see PlayStation doing that.
They have a few that they've gone out and gotten fairly recently. I mean, the last 2-3 years, they've grabbed a couple, studios, devs that have done some portable stuff. But it's just weird to me. Like, let's just take a step back, really, right? We don't even need to make this complicated, chat. Let's just break this down really, really simply here. Like, what's going on? Like, who asked for this one? Like, where did the idea come from, considering you have a device that you heavily, heavily put tons of time and money into and had a rollout for called PSVR 2? Are you just not gonna are you not gonna support that anymore? Like, it's like, can Sony do both? Like, I'm not
absolutely
they can do both. That's my other issue. I'm not confident that they can do both. Something's got somebody's gonna get Google. Someone's gonna get.
I'm not confident they can do one of them.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the thing that's weird is if they were to do something where you could play games natively, would they just be PS4 games? Like, would this basically be a PS4 portable that can stream PS5 games? Like that's still somewhat appealing, but it's got to be in the 300 range somewhere. 400 for PS4 games that are streamable, PS5 games as well, just isn't really cutting it for me, considering a lot of the PS4 games are already on PC. So it's like, well, then just make the PC stuff native. But then again, there's the Steam Deck that's in the $300 range to start. So it's just like this weird loophole that if they come out with this a year ago, maybe it would be a different story. But it just feels weird.
Imagine if they made this and they had the conditions that's on the Series S on this with the PlayStation 5. Man. They're like, we want PlayStation on the go. So if you're going to make a game for PlayStation, it's got to run on this shit too. Like,
yeah, I just don't get it, man. It doesn't make much sense. And not only that, Souza brought up a great question too. Let me back up. He made a great point what did he say? Oh, he and it's funny because this might be the long Call of Duty play, right? Maybe this is why they're fighting so hard for Call of Duty. They needed that COD that Call of Duty mobile to put on put on the handheld or something. I don't know, but it feels strange. Like now, I don't know when we were supposed to get the official announcement, right? Like that's another thing. Maybe this was 6 months away. Maybe this was supposed to be something they talked about at whatever showcase they got this year. It just feels strange. Like that's a priority right now.
Yeah, they said the article. Tom Henderson said that this is going to be after they announce the new PlayStation digital only slim version, along with the detachable hard disk drive. Yeah. They're going to announce that this was scheduled to release prior to the Pro, which again he claims that his information says the PS5 Pro is potentially by next holiday season. But he said that this controller was going to be in between those two sometime. So,
and he also mentioned some other peripherals, a wireless headset, as well as like earbuds or something. So you're right. This may be more of an accessory than anything else.
Yes.
So that may be in chat. Let us know what you guys think about this, man. This handheld, you know, where you guys at with this? But I think we are going to move on, and I'm gonna turn the baton over here, turn the microphone over to one of my right hand men here. Here, Fuzz. We're gonna go ahead and where are we going with this, man? Where are you taking this next, brother?
Well, since I've been on the road, the only real gaming news that without it getting too messy, that I can really talk about would probably be this recent IGN gameplay of Redfall. I'll be honest, I haven't watched it full screen yet or in 4K because, like I said, I'm on the road.
It doesn't
so
help, Fuzzy. It doesn't.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
I've only been able to watch it on my phone, and one of the first things I noticed that kind of pissed me off, and aside from it looking like they were playing a first-person shooter for the first time, this being an arcade game, and they had already shown this mechanic a numerous amount of times on previous playthroughs and things like that. There's this device that looks like it's a mine, and it looks like he's throwing it thinking it's a weapon to blow up the boss or whatever, but it's the teleport platform. You're supposed to throw it to where you want to blink. And like any other arcane game, whether it be Deathloop or, Dishonored, you basically go from where you're standing to wherever that thing lands. And they're throwing it around at the boss, like, unless you want to teleport right in front of them, it just boggled my mind. But I've seen a lot of people on Twitter talking about this, like, the typical PlayStation camp being, the game looks mid. And it's like, nobody's saying the gameplay based on the player is mid. No, it's the game looks mid. But I want to start where you at. Like, as far as when you have some of the bigger outlets do these unveilings or first 15 minutes of gameplay and stuff like that, and you see kind of like what we saw with Cuphead, what comes to mind as far as whether it's issue with how Xbox releases this to different outlets, or is this just one of those things where unknowingly but possibly somewhat knowingly IGN just completely handed this off to the wrong editor or player or person that reviews it at their establishment? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, you know what? He might be back. He said he'd be right back. So yeah. Go ahead. I can take it. I can take
all
it.
Right, all right, PTK. What do you think as far as like when it comes to like with places like IGN having this type of gameplay show?
Sorry,
is it something?
Oh, there he is.
All right, Attic, were you able to hear the question as far as like the like with outlets with IGN having access to this gameplay? Do you feel it's something that?
I was gonna say, I personally feel like, some of these, and it's not all of them, and it's not everyone that works at these outlets, but
right.
I do feel like there's this disconnect that people that just, I get it. Not everyone is going to be amazing at games. I do.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, can you at least like read the tutorial, know how to use the characters? Like, I just don't understand why. I understand the point where they need to hire people that actually know how to write. They don't have to check them, but at the same time, they don't hire like actual gamers to do anything. I feel like they're writers first, then gamers, and some of them are gamers first, then writers. But it's just we've seen time and time, and I think everyone on here can agree that the longer times go by, the more we see why we shouldn't care two shits what these journalists review the games as. Their opinions on games most of the time is trash.
Facts.
It's just like, look, like we look at that kind of gameplay, and I'm just asking Xbox, like when PR and them is looking at this, and they clearly are not using the character the way he's designed. Like, how are you going to fight someone like that big and that takes up that much space and fight him in a house? I just find that hard to believe that you think fighting something that big in tight corridors is a good idea. It's like they have never seen any movies whatsoever. It's just, and it's frustrating because you see you see smaller outlets really giving their all, and then you get places like IGN getting IGN first. And it's just like, I get it. They have a huge audience, and they probably have a massive audience. But how many of those people are going to realistically buy your game? How many of those people are going to realistically even mess with your game, even download it on Game Pass, get in Game Pass? Like, you go look at IGN. IGN does more than games. They do TV shows, they do movies. So it's just like you got all these rivers that some cross, but it's just like, is it worth giving IGN all this exclusive content when the media person at IGN, the person that's over all the media accounts, looked at that, was like, that's lit, put it up. Like, I'm looking at this and I'm like, I could have made more videos that actually showed how this game functions than that. It's like people, I don't know what they thought. I don't know if they were intentionally doing that to make the game look bad, which I really don't want to go that far. I hope it's not that. But it's just like, to me, you either are incompetent and don't know how to use characters that you've gotten all this exclusive access to, or you were deliberately trying to make a game look bad. And as bad as it sounds, I hope to God they just didn't read the tutorial and went straight in. Because if they're going above and beyond to make the game look bad, then it's just like, sometimes I don't understand why Microsoft continues to bless these people with all this content. Like, and I think it's a big issue too, where I feel like, and not even just Xbox, I feel like people in general feel like they can control IGN because IGN's so obsessed with keeping everyone happy. All the big publishers, they don't care if they piss off like indie developers and stuff. But I feel like IGN is one of the goody two-shoe people that they're going to spin everything in a positive way. And it's not everyone. Some people will give you your actual opinion there, but how many times have you like watched a review? Like, how many times you gonna give a game a 9 and 10 out of 10?
Yeah, they
go look at IGN. They rarely give games below 7s, rarely, or 7s, or even 7s for that matter.
Yeah, there's been a lot of high scoring. I mean, to be fair, we're in a golden age, right, Pong? But they are pretty liberal when it comes to the score. Sometimes I would agree with that.
I just feel like when it comes to scores in general these days, like, people are so used to getting 10s, 9s, and 8s that when we see a 6 or a 7, we fucking lose our minds.
Oh man,
and that's not fair. But these reviewers seem to be very comfortable giving high scores. Now, I'm not saying they're doing that to appease like the people are giving them the codes, but what I will say is I feel like they're rougher on people that they feel like is not going to ignore them, like the indie developers, Devolver Digital. But I do feel like when it comes to like PlayStation, I think that even if they don't like the game, they're like, you know what? Let's give it an 8. I know it's a 7. I know it's 6. Let's give it an 8. We want God of War at the end of the year. Like, and it might not be that way, but it's what it looks like.
Yeah. And from appearances standpoint, it definitely has its drawbacks when it comes to some of these games Where now, if the goal was to get more people interested in the game, and they see that gameplay, not necessarily recognizing that the person might be bad at the game, they might think that it's a fault of the game and just decide, well, I'm gonna, skip this one, or I'm gonna pass. Even if they do wind up eventually giving it an 8 or a 9 or something, it's like, well, that boss battle just didn't seem like something I want to even bother with. But man, I definitely appreciate your views and your insight on that, because like I would actually in a lot of cases prefer places like your site to be able to have access to those games and actually play them, because you guys actually will play the games, give the pointers or the critiques on what compared to other games you've played, so that way it's a little bit more of a well-rounded or fuller experience or insight on it. So, but man, oh man, hopefully we'll see more changes as far as like PR offering it to smaller sites and things like that to kind of fill things out as far as for the audiences and stuff.
And I do want to point out, it's like there are journalists out there that's good and love games.
Yeah, for sure.
There's definitely them out there, but it's like, to me, we see more of the negative stuff that journalists do than the positive stuff. You got people like Gene Parks that's been very vocal where he feels like journalism isn't going to survive unless they adapt. And, journalists need to be more about an individual than the conglomerate. When we go and watch a IGN review, we don't care who reviewed it. That's an IGN review.
IGN review, yeah.
That's not an individual person. A robot made that for all I care about. So it's just, Gene's mindset is like, we need writers that are more influencers than writers and vice versa. Like, they need to be both. They can't just be one, because then once you start heading into some of these writing websites being, zoned out, they're going to go to these people that actually have personalities that are also writing as well.
Makes sense. So PTK, what are your thoughts as far as like for some of the gameplay that you saw with IGN, whether it's a new to first person shooter reviewer for that particular segment, or if it may have just been somebody that was trying to speed through it, run through it to, I guess, get the task done, but not necessarily, do their homework as far as getting into it.
Well, before I get started, let me get to this quick super chat before I throw my opinion out here. Shout out to the $5 super chat from Jay Rimbert. He said people were on Twitter blaming Microsoft for IGN's gameplay, SMH, mainly the fan base that was triggered by this game not coming to PS5. That could be true, and I want to highlight that as well. But great question, Fuzz. It was ugly. It was ugly, right? We need to start checking these journalists' Carfax regarding these some of their playing history. But I mean, outside of that, outside of the obvious, the guy didn't know how to play, didn't know what he was doing.
Real quick though, Blaine.
Yeah, go ahead.
If we got to start receipt checking these journalists, just banish the whole website.
Yeah, I mean, we might as well, right?
If at any time I gotta say, yo, are they playing that? I already answered the question. I'm just not going to watch their content anymore.
Yeah. I guess that's a good point. That's the fallout, right? That's the flip side of that theory, though. But yeah, so I mean, one outside of it being obvious that the person playing the game was terrible, I think there's a overlying thing that we have to consider here, right? As Xbox fans, a lot of us tend to be extremely reactionary. I call it PTSD, right?
Yeah.
It's called PT, just from all the trauma, essentially trauma that Xbox fans have built up and dealt with over the years. We tend to be more reactionary than we should be about things like this. And a lot of times that gives more credence to things like this than it actually should. The guy sucked at the game, point blank, period. That's not indicative of the quality or what the game actually is going to be. And I think as long as you take a step back and like actually think about it, it's okay. Like everything is fine. We know we've seen Redfall 6-7 times now. We know the game, how it runs. Now some of us obviously, until we get it in our hands officially, we don't know how it feels. But there are people that we know who have played the game. We know the way the game looks. Like we are aware of all of these things. So we don't need to react, overly to things like this. Now, it is a travesty, though, that this does happen from time to time, but this goes to show you where we're at it regarding journalism. Now, do I blame Microsoft for saying, here, IGN, here's a code, here's 10 copies of Redfall, go ahead and review them? No. I mean, that's business. It sucks, right? I mean, IGN, it is what it is. I'd much prefer them to give it to like Miles or Destin or somebody. Don't they work for IGN, I think? One or both of them work for IGN. Like, give somebody the game that actually has a passion, that actually has been talking about the game all year, that works for this company. I don't even know I don't even know that guy. Like, who was playing the game? Like, I don't know that person. So, like, I don't even have a connection, from a reading standpoint as well, too. There's some people at IGN that are pretty objective. You know what I mean? I will acknowledge that. So I much prefer those guys or those men or women get the game and allow them to play and show the game off in its proper light. But I'm not going to overreact to this, because guess what? In a few weeks, we're getting more gameplay. We're going to get a full rollout. We're getting all of this. We're going to be able to watch people play that know what the hell they're actually doing. So I'm not worried about this at all. As soon as we get more info, as we get a little closer to the game, we're going to start to see more of these videos. People like ILP are going to be able to drop their videos and things like that from their playtime with the game. We're going to actually be able to see and get some objective information about the game, rather than just, some random Rudy Poo at IGN playing the game. So I don't really take this for anything. It is what it is. We've seen this happen, and this won't be the last time. I don't think Xbox is going to stop sending IGN copies of games or codes, because they're too goddamn big. It makes too much sense. You can't just cut them out. I mean, you could, but realistically, that's not the type of company Microsoft and Xbox is. They don't usually do that. But who knows? I'm not really over the moon about this. It is what it is. They weren't very good at the game. That's pretty much the gist of it.
Awesome. Paul, you've seen the gameplay. What are your thoughts as far as when it came to whether it's the fault of the reviewer, just trying to run through it, or possibly not even bothering with learning the characters or the mechanics, or maybe just being bad overall, or just bad in general as far as a first person shooter? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, you know me. First of all, shout out to Attic, shout out to Iron Lords for doing these things the right way.
Yeah.
I've talked about this plenty of times on here. My disdain for a lot of the mass media out there is well known. I've been on many a journalism rant and the state of journalism within this industry, and it's across the board everywhere, but it's affecting this industry now as well, because I come back. I've been gaming for over 40 years, so I go back to the days when that's all we got was the written word, right? That we waited for those magazines, right? The EGMs and those types of magazines to read. So I've been around when journalists had, we got old information, but journalists they didn't have the luxury of going on video and just spouting off a bunch of stuff. They actually had to put words and sentences together and make them sound good. So that's why I appreciate what the Iron Lords are doing over there with their website and lordsofgaming.net. And I appreciate Addict's point of view, because that's what they're trying to do over there, is create some good journalism versus what we get now from some of these places, and IGN included. So I love this. This makes, again, every time something like this happens, and this is coming from somebody who does not have that PTSD that PTK is talking about.
Yeah.
Because I'm not that Xbox fan that has been diehard Xbox since day one and been through the trenches and the wars. No. I'm not that guy, right? I'm the guy who looks at his pocketbook and says, which one of you guys are going to take care of me the best? And so happens this generation's Xbox, right? So I don't have that PTSD at all. But I look at this and just say, good, because you guys are now making yourself more and more irrelevant day by day. Every time you put out, whether it's a bad article, a bad review, a bad video, it doesn't matter. You show the world why more, and you show the masses why, the ones that are starting to wake up, that start to get critical about journalism and say, hey, what is this? Wait, this is not why I come to you guys. I come to you guys for good stuff. What is this gameplay? This looks horrible. And again, the kids nowadays are much more hardcore about your gameplay than we ever were back in the day, right? They judge everything now because they're used to going on and watching their favorite streamer do 360 no scopes, right? So when they see something like this, This looks like a 5-year-old was playing it at times. It looks like me in a horror game running away from the boss. Like I was like, engage. What are you doing? What? This is a boss. Just shoot, would you? So they're making themselves more relevant by the day when they do this stuff, and that's when places like the Iron Lords and us, even as what we do, podcasting and talking about this game industry, become more and more relevant, become more and more important. That's why more people are reaching out and finding us, the smaller sites, the smaller places to go to for the information, because these big places, let's face it, they don't know jack. Like Attic said, a lot of times the writers, the reviewers seem to be like, and we know this for a fact, by the way, a lot of them wanted to be in politics and stuff, and they couldn't get a job over there. So they joined gaming because it was easy for them to get a job. But they're not gamers first at the end of the day. Now, there's a lot of great ones still out there, right? There's still a lot of awesome journalists out there doing really good work, even for the big sites. And I'm not talking about those. I'm just seeing an influx of inexperienced people who don't seem to get gaming or what we as gamers are looking for in our coverage.
Facts.
And so this goes to that right here. Like, there's no way, like, even if the player who's playing this game was bad at it, right? There's no way an editor at IGN should have looked at this and passed it and said, yeah, this looks good. This puts this game in a great light. No, absolutely not. It should have been like, go play some more. Come back to me with some actual gameplay, not you running away, hiding behind walls, throwing out a teleporter as if you're throwing out landmines. That's not what this game is about. Please go back and redo this. So, I'm happy this stuff continues to happen because IGN does need to go away. They really do. And I don't want the loss of jobs and all that kind of stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about their influence needs to disappear. Their influence on the masses needs to disappear. So please continue to put out this garbage, put out this nonsense. As far as Microsoft goes, and I'll hit PTK's point here a little bit too, piggyback off of him. PTK, there was a time when people would never have thought that we wouldn't need an E3 type showcase to have these gaming companies.
That is true, yeah.
Right? There is a time when none of us could ever foresaw what happened, right?
That was really recent too, by the way,
right.
not that long ago.
Yeah, these companies now are finding out that they can control their own narrative. They can control their own marketing. In a lot of ways, if they've got their shit together, much better than giving it to third parties to do it for you. Right. And as we go forward, I think that's going to become more and more a thing. I think that more of the companies are going to hold back from giving out, these first plays to IGN and all this kind of stuff. And they're going to do it themselves and do it right and show it off in the best light possible. And I think that again is going to be a part of this kind of downfall of the influence of these mass media outlets and journalists on everybody else, on the common folk, the common gamers.
That's why you see like a lot of influencers and podcasters taking their lunch money.
Just gonna say that,
because we have a more intimate relationship with our viewers, and they trust us for the most part.
Right.
Sometimes I want to strangle them, but they know, what I say. I'm not going to twist my words. And what's funny is people be like, Addict, you used to be crazy on podcasts and stuff. I feel like you ain't genuine anymore. It's no, I just realized I was bugging. It's like you can eat. I get the same message across. I just don't use mad ass disrespect terms.
Right.
And what's funny is when a game is bad, a lot of people feel like unless I say that's dog shit, I'm not giving them criticism. I can literally say, dude, I think this needs to improve. I didn't like this. I don't understand what they were talking about by this. I think they tried to give a foundation here, but they fell short on multiple ways. And then they'll be like, why didn't you just say it's dog shit? Because there's still human beings making this game. And I get very annoyed where people will call you a sellout just because I don't come out there and say some off the wall shit about the game.
Right.
Well, it's got to be tough. I've considered doing reviews on this channel. Yes, chat, I've considered doing reviews, and I've gone back and forth with that idea 20,000 times. And that's one of the reasons keeping me from doing. Now, I don't care about people's opinions. You guys know me very well, right? I say what I want to say when I want to say it, who who I want to say it to, but that scares the hell out of me though. I don't know why that energy, like you said, like even if you give, even just exactly what you just said, Attic, like even if you're like, there's some meat on the bone here. If you're not saying either or, if you're not one extreme or the other, there's always a bunch of discourse, right? And I just don't like the mess. You know what I mean? I'll deal with it. I get it. You know what I mean? I get in the shit sometimes too. Like it's fun. I get where we're at. It's all fantasy football, but like the integrity, the lack of integrity, the lack of objectivity. And Pong, you're right. And I'm glad you brought that up, Pong, that like the industry is not going to continue to stay the way it is. You have people like ILP, you have people like Insider Gaming, you got people like the Shop Podcast, you got people like Mav and Fun Speculation that do their job way better than these guys are out here doing their job.
The problem is these other stuff like ILP, Shop Podcast, Inside, like they don't have the reach to get the opportunities that IGN and them get. IGN, I feel like there's a lot of YouTubers, a lot of like websites and stuff. I call it grandfathered in. Like they've been around so long that there's just been grandfathered in. YouTubers like Boogie 2998, like they've been here since the origins of YouTube, so people just naturally know who they are. And it's just like until you get that type of Microsoft, just like let's let ILP host an event. Like until you get someone that's willing to give the small guy a chance, I just don't see it shifting too much. And then you got people gatekeeping. They have no problem going up the ladder when it's extended down to them, but when they get up it, they raise that shit up. They're like, I only want them through here.
Right.
Or they only lower it for like their friends.
Yeah.
And then they raise that shit up right after their friends get through. And it's sad because, everyone can prosper on YouTube. Everyone could. But the problem is there's too many people that are only about what can I get from this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. I just think at the end of the day, the combined forces of everybody, even like people like ACG and Jeremy Penter and stuff who have started to make a name for themselves, combined with their own marketing teams of like Xbox and the smaller teams, can all make up for it. We just saw Xbox fly out a bunch of smaller creators out to go play Redfall. It wasn't gigantic people, right? So they're starting to see that is possible. And I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight. I'm just saying that little by little, the IGNs of the world continue to diminish themselves and their place in respectability amongst gamers. And that all leads to better things down the line for the smaller people as well, because it gives everybody an opportunity to find their place. And I'll end it on this point as well, because Addict brought it up. The 9s and 10s things, Addict, is one of the worst things that's ever happened to this industry.
Oh, it's so stupid, bro.
The way that the ratings are done now has absolutely destroyed it. And again, we can sit here, and a lot of us do, and we preach all the time. Stop listening to reviewers. But the reality is that most people can't go out and buy every game for themselves to play it and find out if they like it. That's why Game Pass is so valuable at the end of the day. So there are going to be that big group of people who still do listen to reviews, but that's why I say find one or two people that you generally agree with on a game and listen to them only, and stop going to Metacritic sites, stop going to these sites. The minute that people started saying games that were 7s are bad is the day that we lost the complete narrative. Like that is, it's completely wrong. Again, I've got games in Metacritics of 50s that I absolutely loved and that I know other people loved, right? The minute that we got down to that point, and the way that they changed the rating system, I used to love the Game Informer days when they broke it down by category, graphics, sound, art direction, controls. I loved when people used to break it down that way. I like the way that ACG does it, right? With the buy, wait, or wait for sale, whatever it is. I love that concept, but this straight up numbers game that IGN and the bigger outlets do play all the time, and like Addict said, they seem to give a lot of high scores, have really done a lot of harm to a lot of games and a lot of developers in this industry.
Yeah, and it's the sad part about it is I use Metacritic as like a tool. I don't use it like as the end all be all. Like I'll scale on things. It's like, okay, if the whole industry says this is a 9, it's probably going to be a decent game at the very least. If the whole industry says this is a 5, I'll be a little bit more wary that, okay, let me let me do research on this game. Like,
Yeah, that's kind of how it should be, right? It should be
Yeah.
used as a guide.
Exactly, but those sevens, like when it scores in the 70s on Metacritic, and then nowadays people skip it because it's not
Yeah,
a banger,
it's
it's not
not
a
a ba-
home
yeah,
run.
yeah.
Those are the games where it's
It's weird, man.
divided reviews, right? Where some people love it and some people don't, and it kind of gets that middling review. Those are the games that suffer tremendously
Yep.
because there is a much larger audience that would love that game if they weren't just looking at Metacritic and going, "Oh, didn't get into the 80s. This has got to be a terrible game. Forget it. I'm not picking this one up." That's where I've seen it go, and I don't like it.
Yeah. No, but awesome thoughts all around as far as how a lot of these sites, the bigger sites in particular, have kind of, I guess, lost their touch. Well, it's not really touch, but they've kind of lost some of their touch when it comes to these types of first looks and things like that, where make more sense to have someone that's either familiar or interested in that particular genre of game, and possibly take the time, especially considering it is a first look, take the time to
I just
do research or something into it or something along
I don't
those
understand how
lines.
we can get rid of like something that's been in the industry for like decades, like E3.
Mhm.
But these companies still feel like they need IGN having first exclusive rights
Right.
to these games.
Right.
It's like
Crazy.
why can't you just have, because there's certain games. I think if I remember correctly, like Dying Light 2 is one of them where
Mhm.
the media gets it before influencers. And I just don't understand that. Like, I don't. There's certain developers and publishers that still have a lot of like regards when it comes to media. Like they feel like they're above everyone else, and I just like in a lot of ways, the reason a lot of people have went to influencer marketing is because they feel like if you go to like a Mr. Matty Play and you're trying to promote an RPG, you probably got a better chance of having his fan base get behind your game than going to something like IGN, where most of the time, like I said, they have such a huge lake of viewership. You don't
Mhm.
know what you're gonna get. But when you go to Mr. Matty Play, like, I want to do a sponsorship, I want you to play this game and give your honest opinions on the review. And then when Mr. Matty co-signs your game, you're going to get a lot more from it than something like an IGN doing it, because Mr. Matty, his viewership plays those games.
Yeah. Makes sense. Hopefully, like we were saying, hopefully things progress and they,
Yep.
E3 hopefully will make a return, and maybe some of the bigger sites kind of fall to the background. But man, awesome views, everyone. Thank you so much for this. Now,
Awesome. Awesome.
hand off the baton to Paul.
Awesome, awesome. But before we get into that, before we throw it over to Pong, once again, chat, hit the like button. Appreciate you guys, man. Some quick shout outs. Luis, I know Mav was in here. What's up, Bacon? Shout out to Calorie. We have Fifth Horseman. We have Phasma. What's up, Phasma? Snuck in here. I didn't see you earlier. Just everybody that's in here hanging out with us. Appreciate you guys so much. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the show. But yeah, we're turning this over to you, Pong. Where we going now, Pong?
We're going off the beaten path.
Oh, nice.
Because don't know when we're going to get Addict back. So we are going into speculation town a little bit because we are 2 months out, boys and girls, from the showcase, from Xbox's showcase. Unbelievably so. We are 2 months out, and I got want to obviously test the temperature of everybody and kind of get some people's initial kind of upfront thoughts on what we're going to see. We already know we're getting Starfield Deep Dive, which is the only thing that really matters. But there is another show prior to that where they're going to show some more games, hopefully. So I want to get some people's thoughts here. And like I said, I don't know when we're going to have Addict back. If it's not before E3, I kind of want to get his initial kind of gut check time on what he thinks the Xbox Showcase is going to bring. And then obviously I want yours, Fuzzy and PTK as well. But Addict, I'm going to start with you. So Showcase, June 11th. Xbox. We did the 12-month thing last year, and I don't know your personal thoughts. I think you were one of the people that said don't ever do that again, like a lot of us, because it's kind of come back to bite them a little bit here. I won't say a little bit, it's quite a bit. But anyways, neither here nor there. I got a kind of a 3-part question here for you, kind of short but sweet. So with the showcase on June 11th for Xbox, What are you expecting as far as, are they going to do another 12-month show, or are they going to go further out? What are your kind of overall general thoughts about how they're going to structure this show? Is what I'm asking. And then I want, like, one locked game that is going to be there for sure, and then one wish list kind of game that you wish if you were in control you could have there. So go ahead, Addy.
I don't think they're going to keep the 12-month thing.
Okay.
Part of me feels like they did the 12-month for a variety of reasons. One was COVID slowed down their production so much they didn't want people taking like 2 weeks to a couple months doing, slices of their games. They would just prefer them to keep it to the 12 months because 9 times out of 10 those games are at a state where they could easily show those games off better. Yeah. I also believe that the Activision deal was a thing too, where they didn't want to show a bunch of upcoming games in the next couple years to make themselves look stronger. I think that's the reason PlayStation didn't do it.
We got 20 games in the next 2 years.
You can't go on there and scream, look what Fable looks like, look what Hellblade looks like, look what Avowed looks like, and they're like, we got nothing though. Like we need Call of Duty. We got no.
We're really poor.
I also think that's the reason you didn't see PlayStation do anything last year. And if I were to say like a game that I think's going to be there or pretty confident, I would say Hellblade 2 is going to make an appearance there.
Perfect.
And a game that I would love for it to be there, which I don't know, would be Fable, because I remember that they said Fable was going to come in 2024.
Yeah.
I don't know. So if it does, I would expect it at this event.
Okay.
But I do think this is one of those things where we're at a position where they got so much now, they might have to hold stuff back intentionally.
Mm-hmm. So you think that they will go out a little bit further, though? You think?
Yeah, I think they abandoned that 12-month thing completely.
Yeah. Okay. So they're going to give us some more hopes and dreams. All right. One last question for you, Attic, before I move on here. And this is a shout out to Rand and Jez, Xbox 2. They brought this up on their show on Friday, and I thought it was interesting. Somebody else asked it in chat, and they kind of talked about it a little bit. So I want to get your thoughts, Attic, real quick. This year, it's only Xbox Showcase. There's no Bethesda name. Do you think that is intentional? Because Bethesda, they're launching a bunch of games this year, right? We're getting Ghostwire Tokyo, we're getting Redfall, we're getting Starfield. We had Hi-Fi Rush to begin the year. Do you think it was intentional because Bethesda doesn't have anything to show? Or do you think that Xbox is moving to a more, hey, we're all one big company, we're Xbox now, enough with this whole Xbox and Bethesda thing? We're about to add ABK, so let's just get everybody used to the fact that these studios are now Xbox. What is your thought on that, sir?
I think it was a respect thing. I think, look, you had stuff to show. We want to respect you enough to keep you in the title.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we might say you guys have your own, systems. You're on your own individually. But when it comes to stuff like that, you are an Xbox studio.
Right.
And I think the first time, because I remember like there's rumors that there were like a little bit of friction going on how they were going to handle that.
Right.
And I think Bethesda got the middle ground. But I think after that one, and they showed Starfield and they showed these, my question to you guys, does it matter?
Right.
Like if they buy Activision, they buy Bethesda, then, who's got games ready? Oh, you got, okay, give me a trailer. Oh, you got games ready? Give me a trailer. Right. Okay, that's good. Like, I feel like if they buy Activision, I think you might see a second show, because I do think we're getting to the realm where maybe it's too much for one show a year.
Yeah, it'd be like an ILP show at that point, right? It'd be like 5 hours.
You got 1 hour's Bethesda, 1 hour's Xbox Studios, 1 hour's Bethesda. I mean Blizzard, 1 hour's Activision, 1 hour's Call of Duty by itself.
Exactly.
I think you will be seeing some restructuring on that, but I think it's really just going to be on. This is Xbox Studios, and these are the games that's ready for like momentarily. Like they might have it like. Bethesda's working on a game that like, we're going to show this at the end, but we're not going to label it as Bethesda. You'll see it pop up on the screen, but this is an Xbox show nonetheless.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay. Do you think then Bethesda does have something to show this year? Do you think anything from ZeniMax at all this year, or do you think they're kind of out until later?
Um, Starfield's pretty important. Maybe you'll see
Well,
like
yeah,
Fallout. Maybe you see like a Fallout New Vegas remaster or something like that. Because
something
I
like
knew
that. A
a
surprise.
remake or
Ooh.
something like that. I know that there's been a lot of teasing going on about something with
Mhm.
Fallout New Vegas. You
Mhm.
even got like Obsidian teasing something to some degree.
Mhm.
So maybe you see something small like that just to see engagement. And if there's a
Right.
lot of engagement and the numbers are pretty good when the game comes out, maybe we'll see a Fallout New Vegas too.
Nice. Some New Vegas files just showed up in Steam underneath Fallout 4 this
Yeah.
week as well.
I
So
saw that.
interesting. Yeah, interesting. All right, let's get Fuzzy and PTK in here. Fuzzy, I didn't
Mhm.
get to talk to you last night, brother. We missed you on Xbox Ultimate, man. It's a rare time when you and I haven't spoken by Saturday nights. So
Yeah.
I know you're in Florida. I know you're
Mhm.
relaxing. I know you're petting gators and doing all sorts of craziness down there. But I want you to look ahead, sir. 2 months,
Mhm.
June 11th, 2 months
Oh
and
yeah.
3 days at this point. What do you think? Number one, do you think they go away from the 12-month show, or do you think
Mhm.
that they stick with it? And if you think they're going away with it, how far out do you think they go? Then give me one guaranteed game that we're going to see there, and then one wishful game that we're gonna see there. Go ahead.
Whew. I think the toughest thing is if the ABK deal clears beforehand. But before we really get into that, I think they do step away from that 12-month deal. I think it's already bitten them in the rear enough to the point where, kind of like what Attic was saying, it was, I wouldn't say it was like a forced thing, but they kind of did it for a couple of different reasons, and now it looks like those reasons may not have been the best forecasting type of deal. But I think they move away from it and they go up to 2 years, but I don't think they tell us 2 years. Like I think there'll be
Right.
games where
Right.
you'll see like a release month or release season, like spring of 2024 or something like that. But then I think you might see one or two games where it's like 2025 or
Okay.
2026.
Whoa.
And it'll
Okay.
just say
I
that.
like it. Yeah.
Well, so unfortunately I think Fable's one of those that gets the 2025. Unfortunately, I, I don't know if it makes 2024 like they originally thought, but one thing I do want to see there, if they don't have something between now and June, is motorsport. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of tearing me from the inside right now that there hasn't been that much more mention of it. And I get
Right.
it. They definitely need more time to let things cook, get the tracks set up, the car set up, some of the new mechanics and things like that they've incorporated in this build. I know it takes time, but want to hear at least some sort of update if it's going to be at the show or if they're going to do something before the show. That'd be awesome. But as far as like the dream scenario,
Mm-hmm.
hmm, I got a weird one for you, and
Okay.
I've mentioned this before. Like even before we really know how well Starfield will hit, and I feel it's going to hit fairly well, and like you said, people will be still playing it 10 years down the road.
Yep.
But I think ZeniMax Online, the game that
Mm-hmm.
they've been working on secretly or quietly,
Yeah.
is the MMO version of Starfield. I think we get to see
That would
that.
be crazy.
You
I
speaking my
think,
language, Fuzz. It's a
Yeah.
lot of Starfield, but man,
yeah,
I'm all
but
about it. Let's go.
I
Yeah.
I think it's something that's bound to happen. Like
Yes. Yes.
it makes too
Absolutely.
much sense in the regard where was it Starfield Citizen or not Starfield Citizen Star Citizen
Yep.
has been in the works for God knows how long, and
Mm-hmm.
they just broke their most recent bill with some of the updates for the
Mm-hmm.
persistent universe and stuff. I think the guys over at ZeniMax can get that kind of situated where having a persistent universe with Starfield will be I won't say an easier task, but I think they already have what it takes to have that work out the gate kind of thing, and we just get a peek behind the curtains of it.
Ooh,
The
man.
other one, not to go too sci-fi,
Yep.
but Outer Worlds 2. I think we
Okay.
get more than a cool
Nice.
trailer making fun of
Nice.
trailers kind of thing,
Nice.
and I think we see how a smaller universe set or a smaller scope um, universe works and can be different and amazing at the same time without them overlapping or countering each other in any way. I do think Outer Worlds 2 brings that same, lighthearted comedy to it, and just goes for like a smaller experience setup, and we get
Right.
the first real peek at it, as opposed to just something that was like a splash slice cut kind of mocking trailer deal. But those are my ideas for what we'll see. I'm hoping we see a lot more of like a lot of the projects that have been mentioned along the way. Like I still want to see something about Project Mara. Still want to see Project Midnight, which I think that's the compulsion game, which
Correct.
I know they're still kind of, working some things out. But yeah, I think this is going to be the show. It's not full on hopes and dreams, but I think they do show some
Extend it a
glimpses
little
of
bit more.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Extend it
that
up.
are yeah. So that's fingers crossed what we get. June 11th.
I really liked one year. I think it was a Gamescom, maybe. I don't know, when they used to do conferences there. They
Mhm.
had like 30 minutes, 45 minutes dedicated to here and now. And then
Mhm.
they
Right.
shifted over to the next 20, 25 minutes is going to be dedicated to in the near future.
Right.
And I think
Yeah.
that was one of
Yeah.
the best formats they've ever had.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
love to see that come back too, Attic. I think that's a great way to do things because I think as much as people talk about not liking all the time to see like CG and a teaser or whatever the case may be, I still think it's important to get the game's name out there. Now I always ask that they update us in between and not wait 4 years like we're coming up on with some of these games that they've announced, but at the same time, it's still important to give a glimpse into the future. You don't have to do it all the time, and you don't have to go all the way out. But every once in a while, it is good, and I would love to see that come back. Good point, Attic. I like that idea for sure. Fuzzy, before I let you go, bonus
Mhm.
question. Same one I gave Attic. Xbox only showcase. There is no Bethesda. There's no other names involved. It's just Xbox showcase. Do you
Mhm.
think it's purposeful? Because Xbox is now just saying, "Hey, we're all one big family, no matter what," or do you think that there's no Bethesda games? I mean, obviously Starfield's going to be there, but it's getting
Yeah.
its own show. Or do you think that Bethesda's all out of bullets right now, and we're not going to see anything at the showcases? What do you think?
Whew, that's kind of a tough one. I'm thinking it's more so the Xbox family because it's still called Xbox Game Pass, even though PC Game Pass
Right.
it's still considered Xbox platform. But
Mm-hmm.
I think overall they're calling it that so that way they don't have to do an addendum or an amendment to add Activision Blizzard King at the end, at some other
Right.
point if that should clear beforehand. So I think
Right.
they just wanted to play it safe, and then if the deal closes beforehand, hey, you don't really have to change the flyers or
Yep.
invites or anything like that.
Right.
So
Right.
I think it's more of
Okay.
that. Although, man, Bethesda's been shooting a lot of bullets.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they still have more that we haven't even thought of.
Oh
Some
yes. Oh
new
yes.
IPs, and I'm still waiting to hear more about Indiana Jones and where is
Yeah.
Wolfenstein 3. But I think it's just purposeful as the family. It's a family thing, and Activision Blizzard will probably make the show as well. So just
Yeah.
save on paperwork.
I'm just sorry to cut this short, but the girl wants to go home, and I'm gonna go ahead and get her home before she
Oh
gets mad at me.
no, yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Once again, chat. Let everybody know where they can find you. Attic has to head out a little early, so go ahead, Attic.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at LordAddictIOP. You can find me on YouTube at Gaming Addict. Tomorrow at 1 p.m., we're the Lord's Day. We're gonna have me, Soft King, and Cog doing the Iron Lords podcast. I want to hit the subscribe button on Bland, man. Hit that like button. Show up here weekly. I hope you guys enjoy a good day. And sorry I had to leave early again.
That's all good, brother.
There's a lot of stuff going on here too, but I will definitely be back.
Awesome,
All
man.
Sounds
right,
Well,
great,
you
once
guys
Attic.
again,
have a
Thank you,
good
brother.
day.
yeah, you take
Appreciate
it
it.
easy,
Thank you
bro.
for
Enjoy
joining
your
us.
weekend, man. Thank you for joining us as well.
You too. You guys have a great day.
All right, later, brother.
All right, bye
Later.
bye.
All right.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, was it on me?
Yeah,
Was it on
it's
me,
coming back
Fuzz?
to you now,
Coming back to
PTK. So
me?
get ready,
Okay.
brother. It's on. All
All
right.
right.
So let's start out with the beginning. The showcase June 11th. What are you expecting as far as are they going to sell us hopes and dreams a little bit? Are they going to stick to that 12-month format that they did last year? what's your general thoughts on that, on which direction they're going to go, and then one guaranteed game that you're going to guarantee is going to be there, and then one wishful game.
Okay, so 1 to 12 month thing, I think that was an exception to the rule, right? They've never done that before. This is the only time they've ever done that. So I think that clearly shows that like where they were at and what was going on influenced that decision. I think it's pretty obvious, right? Like, with the ABK stuff going on, you're walking on eggshells. You got to be real careful about how you present yourself. And we saw that, right? Like even the way they talked about themselves in the filings and all the emails and things, they had to present a particular type of picture. So I understand the 12-month thing at that time. I don't think they're going to keep up with it because I don't think it's necessary. I think ultimately, like as gamers, we go back and forth. There's always going to be a group of people that want to see the game either sooner or later. It doesn't matter what format they choose. There's going to be somebody pissed off that they didn't see enough or saw too much too early. So I mean, I think people are okay with the too much too early. It's kind of per tradition that things go that way. Now I do, and one caveat, like you said, Pong, is very, very key that they do update us along the way.
Right.
Because that's the caveat. We're okay with the smoke and mirrors as long as you update us along the way. We cool with
give
the
us one update in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
Jeez,
we're okay with that. Give us some updates along the way. Now, obviously, you talked about fundamentally Xbox doing things different. We got to consider the developer direct. They have other shows now. You know what I mean? That changes how they present information. That changes, the way they give out information now. So if they do adopt the developer directs, that does affect E3, right? Like, okay, now we have another event later on to even further highlight some of these other games, or maybe the games coming out later on in the year that, we didn't know about until E3, right? That's just another smaller showcase to highlight those games coming in the next 18 months or, God knows however long. Now, as far as the game that I think is going to be at E3 this year, or E3, I can't get it out of my head. So
it's fine. We all know what you're talking about.
I'm going to be at the Xbox Showcase this year. I'm going to Valve. I'm going to Valve, man. I'm swinging for the fences on this one. Nice. I hold Obsidian in such a high regard, and I feel like they're gonna knock it out the fucking park, man. Like I just got this feeling that Obsidian is gonna just put themselves in a position, bro. When we see Avowed, when we see Outer Worlds 2, our face is gonna melt. So I'm hoping we get Avowed. We know there is a semi. We know there's a build out there, right? We saw a build, screenshots of a build, playable build. We don't know the exact state, but some type of a playable build. So we know it's fairly further along. So I hope to see more about that because I think that game's going to be phenomenal. So there's a couple other games. There's like 2 or 3 specifically. So one is Compulsions. I got to see something. I got to know what the fuck y'all doing. Like what is going on? Oh, and that's just me being blunt, honest. Show me something. I need to see what you're doing. We're here. We get drip fed Compulsion stuff. Like once a year, we get a little article or a little rumor or something like that, or maybe some pictures or something about the game. I need to see what you guys are doing. I'm so intrigued by what we've heard about it, Pong and Fuzz. We've seen some things, heard some things. It has my ears peaked, so I want to see that. Another one that people aren't talking about, and I feel like this is going to be a jewel in Xbox's cap. Whatever the fuck inXile's doing next. They keep every time we hear about that game from Phil, from they talked about they had a meeting where everybody brought their stuff to the table, and when Exile showed what they were doing, everybody's face was on the floor. So I remember reading that post. So like I'm just super excited to see what they do. Obviously, this is going to be I know we already got some details on. Isn't it like a kind of a looter shooter ish kind of a RPG?
No, this was In Exiles is supposedly the dark gothic styled. What do I want to say? Trying to remember, first person shooter or first person, I think.
So first person, okay.
Yeah,
so it'll be something along. So it'll be a little bit okay. So I'm just dying to see what they have. So those 2, and the last one, I would probably say, oh man, I don't think we're gonna see this at all. I'd love to see an update. I'd love to get an update on Perfect Dark.
Yeah.
I just don't know. Even with the news that we have, Crystal Dynamics, full throttle, them going hand in hand with the initiative to work on the game. I wonder how much progress they've made now that that's a, it's obviously they've been doing it for a while now, but I'm curious how much progress they've made what the game actually looks like right at this point in time. So that's another game high on my list of games that I want to play when it does come out, when we get some more information. And another one just for icing on the cake is probably going to be Contraband. I'd like to see what they're cooking up, what Contraband looks like, exactly what type of game it is. It's supposed to be some kind of heist game, what kind of cool dynamic, you know what I mean? Like what I mean, what's the last time we don't get heist games very often, do we?
Nope.
We get stuff like Payday every now and then, and that's more of a game, that's more of like a, I don't know. It feels like Grand Theft Auto almost, when you're
it's like the Grand Theft Auto heist, but as the game itself.
Yeah. So, and shout out to Luis. He said, "In Exile FPS Steampunk RPG." That's
Steampunk.
Speaking my language.
Thank you. Steampunk is the word I was looking for.
That's speaking my language. That's
Victorian
right on my alley.
age steampunk is what I was looking for there when I said Gothic. So thank you very much, Luis, for coming through on that one.
Yeah,
absolutely, 100%. And Compulsions is supposedly the third-person dark fantasy.
I think it's southern, like Louisiana, almost.
Louisiana,
like
yes.
So like voodoo kind of stuff. So I'm super curious to see. So those would be my four that I hopefully we get some more information on at some point, and with the one being about actually showing up.
Perfect. And then bonus question: Xbox showcase only, no Xbox Bethesda. Is it because they're all one big family now, PTK, or is it because Bethesda just doesn't have anything to show? Because we got 4 games from them this year, right? Hi-Fi Rush, Ghostwire Tokyo, Redfall, and Starfield. So are they just not there in name because they don't have any games, or is it because Xbox is now saying we all are one big family? What do you think?
I mean, I just think it's a name thing. I don't think it's, because I mean, when has Bethesda ever not had a show, right? Like they've always had a show. They've always had something to show, whether it be updates for ESO, whatever the case may be. I think they're going to have, so they're going to have a presence. They're going to have some information for us. Who knows? Maybe it's an unannounced game. Maybe it's, something that they're working on. Maybe we get a little vertical slice or some CGI or something, right? I don't think they're just going to not take the opportunity to just be like, you know what, since we already have what we're coming out with, like, we're just not going to be, we're not going to participate at all in the event. I don't think that's the case. I think they're going to have things to show. I think it's more of a, we're officially family now. We don't really need the distinction anymore. We've already explained that to people. We've already explained, we not to say give you the courtesy, but last year, I believe was an exception because they announced it and it was separate. It was Xbox Bethesda Showcase, right? They had both names in the title.
Correct.
So I think that was more of a welcome aboard.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That was more
first
of a welcome aboard.
First time out together.
First time out the gate. We don't want to alienate you and make it look like we're the big bad company that just took over.
We're going to hyphenate our last name. We're going to hyphen first time.
Exactly.
But then after that, it's Mr.
We're married. Put a ring on it. Everybody knows we're married. We don't need to do this. We don't need to wear a shirt saying him and hers on it. We don't need to do that. Everybody knows we're locked up. We're married. We're good to go. So I think that was more of a courtesy.
I love it. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I appreciate the conversation. I'll give you my kind of go around here with it then, and we can move on. So as far as the format goes, I believe that they are going to go away from the 12 months. I think the 12 months was a big mistake for whatever reason. We talked about it. I said my piece, much like Addict and much like everybody else here did last year about it. I was for it as long as you could hit those marks, right?
Yes. Yeah,
that's the important part of it that I had. All right. There was a big asterisk, but you have to get all those games released. And as we saw, that's not happening. So for me, the 12 months is a no-go. And like I said before, I still think that hopes and dreams are important. Even if you've got so much content that you really don't need to do that, I still think it is important to show people what they can be hyped for in the future and give us updates on things that are further down the road. Because again, when you announce games in 2020 and we haven't seen or heard boo from any of them, that's a problem to me. Like I said, I don't need big giant blowouts. I don't need massive gameplay like where you're currently at with it. Just give me something in game. Give me a glimpse in game of what we can expect from a Fable, from a Perfect Dark, right? Give me something out of those. So I think that they do go away from it this year. Much like Fuzzy said, I think we get back to the point where they don't necessarily even give us dates, maybe a year if they're comfortable doing that. But I think that we might just have a lot of, maybe some quick glimpses in game shots, and then, another title screen, and like, hey, keep watching for more updates later, right? And I think that will be great. That'll be good enough for me. So I think we do go away from the 12 months. My guaranteed. Now everybody kind of picked out mine. Mine was Avowed. I was going to rock with. You
Nice.
did PTK. For sure. I think we see that. I think that's out next. If Hellblade 2's hitting this year in holiday, then I think Avowed is spring. That'll be next year's spring, early summer game, which is perfect timing for another RPG after we get Starfield in September. Like, my God, just engagement city here. So I think Avowed for sure is going to be there. But I'll go out on a little bit of a limb here. I'll break the rules a little bit because there's no way I would ever guarantee this game being there. But I think it aligns. I think we get something from Indiana Jones. And with the movie launching, Pete Hines put out a tweet promoting the movie trailer saying this looks fantastic. I think it all lines up that Indiana Jones movie's coming out this year. Now, the game, I'm not expecting to come out this year, but I think they capitalize on that movie being out and give us a glimpse of what we can expect from Indiana Jones at this showcase. So I'm going there. That's what I think. And then my wish, I will steal it back from PTK since he rattled off a couple there. But In Exile is the one I want to see. I want to see State of Decay 3. Of course I do. I want to see Fable. Of course I do. I want to see Perfect Dark. Of course I do. And there's all potential that we could get teases from them, at least showing us an update. But the studio that I'm most interested in is In Exile, because again, I've said this many, many times. Microsoft has now hoarded. They have now gathered together some of
Infinity Stones.
Yes, some of the greatest RPG writers in the industry, all underneath one umbrella. Of course, I'm talking about Bethesda. Of course, I'm talking about Obsidian. And right there with those two is In Exile. Now, they don't make the big AAA games, right? They've made the top-down CRPG, correct, tactics-style games in Wasteland, but go and actually play those games and listen to the story, listen to the character development, listen to the writing, and they are right up there with those two powerhouses. And now Phil has given them the chance to go make a AAA game for once, and it's steampunk. Oh yes, please and thank you. In Exile, like PTK just got done talking about, finally gets the respect put on its name when this game launches. I believe all of a sudden everybody talks about how many great Western RPG makers Xbox now holds on to, like the Infinity Stones. In Exile is going to be considered one of those. People are going to start talking.
Can I say something real quick, Paul?
Go ahead.
I want to highlight something real quick. We got to give Xbox, and this is what we need to do. This is we complain as Xbox. Some of us complain as Xbox fans about Xbox not getting recognition. We got to make sure, as if you're a fan of Xbox, that we highlight certain things. We got to give Xbox credit for studios like In Exile, studios like Double Fine, that are they have been critically successful, have some of the best studio leads in Fargo, and who was the guy at Double Fine? The lead, the I can't remember his name.
Tim Schafer.
Tim Schafer. Yeah, some of the I couldn't think of his name.
I thought you were thinking about like somebody else. Like
no.
Tim. Like,
no, Tim Schafer for sure. Yep. But we got to give them credit for taking those studios and giving those studios the proper amount of resources that they've deserved this entire time.
Correct.
Because those studios have made phenomenal games with not say very few resources, but on a way smaller scale, and they've always overshot what their actual budget was. The way the games come out, the quality's always been way over what the budget actually was. So the budget is finally matching, and we got to give Xbox credit for recognizing the talent and allowing them and giving them resources to go out there and make the kind of games that they at this point in time had yet to be able to do on their own.
Correct. And not to run off on a side tangent here, but to continue that point, the other one is Compulsion. That's Compulsion, when people say, well, all these studios they bought back in 2018, how come we don't have games from them? This is the point that I have made time and time again. Number one, they were all working on games at the time or releasing games very shortly after Microsoft had acquired them. We saw that happening. So they didn't start on brand new games right away. But the biggest point is In Exile and Compulsion are both going from AA studios trying to make their first AAA type games, and that's going to take a little bit longer. They had to beef up talent-wise, dev-wise. Compulsion got a brand new studio built for them where a lot of people in the industry were probably like, I mean, I remember when Compulsion was bought, a lot of people were like, why are you buying Compulsion? We happy Few didn't turn out that great. Like, what are you doing here, Xbox? And then Phil turns around and they go to Phil. The story is, and Phil's talked about it. They go to Phil and they say, we want to make a AAA game. And Phil didn't even bat an eye at them, even though We Happy Few didn't turn out the way a lot of people expected it to, and said, you got it, go do it. Gave them a brand new studio, let all these devs beef up talent-wise. They've been growing. Everybody talks about organic growth. That's all Microsoft has been doing internally with these studios, is letting them go hire as many people as they need, giving them brand new equipment, studio tech, time, resource, whatever they need, they got. And In Exile and Compulsion could be two of the biggest surprises out of that entire group of purchases that Xbox made at the end of the day. So I really want to see In Exile. And then as far as the name goes, I can see both ways. That's why I thought it was an interesting discussion. I can see both ways. Maybe Bethesda doesn't have anything this year anymore, outside of Starfield, obviously, and the 3 other games are going to have launched at that point. But I do believe it is a family thing. I do believe that Xbox is saying, listen, Bethesda is an important name. It's still going to be promoted. People are still going to know when a title comes out that it is Bethesda. It has that name recognition. The same with like Arcane. All you guys are still going to be knowing. But when we go to a showcase and we're showing off Xbox games. And so we want the family name Xbox to be prominent. And then when ABK comes in, no different there. We want, yes, everybody's still going to know it's Blizzard. Everybody's still going to know it's Infinity Ward making Call of Duty. But when we show these games off in a big showcase type atmosphere, it's going to be an Xbox showcase or an Xbox developer direct. It's not going to be a Bethesda developer direct, or it's not going to be an Activision developer direct. It's going to be Xbox. So I think that this might be the time where they are kind of making that name synonymous across the board with all these studios. So I think that's the intention, because I do believe, I just said, I think Indiana Jones is there this year, which would be a Bethesda title. So I think it's going to be there this year.
Awesome. Let's go. Let me get to a couple of these quick super chats real quick before we move on. So we got a $2 super chat. Shout out to Splendiferous, the homie in chat. We can't be locked out of this generation Xbox. So I appreciate for the $2 super chat, man. Thank you, Splendiferous, for showing love. And then we got another $5 super chat from Sanchez MTZ Gaming. He said, this is Xbox year. Let's go. For sure it's Xbox year, man. So wanted to get those out of the way before we moved on, man. But that was
go, Poe. Listen, I already said that if I was in charge, if I was Phil, I show you the entire roadmap. I know you're being sarcastic, and I know you're saying that there's a lot of gamers out there who are entitled and think we should show everything or need to see everything. I'm one of those people. Again, I want to see all my Christmas gifts up front. So if I was Phil, I'd show you all the gifts out to like 2028 if I had them, and just be like, yeah, we're doing this. But no, I understand what you're saying, Gogo. But
so you guys want to know how to disrupt the industry? Just hire Pong. You guys want to see the industry in a day. You want to see the industry really shift? Just hand Pong the keys for like 48 hours.
I'll be leaking screenshots direct from the big leather chair right in my office, man. I'll be like, I'd be hitting Tom Henderson up, be like, here, show these out. Let's see what happens.
Talk about industry disruption, man. We have a news feed in the morning. This be a packed week, but yeah. So ultimately, like I said, at the end of the day, I mean, it was a great topic, man. Lots to. I didn't think you were going there, man. I was caught me a little off guard about and I didn't realize how close we are to that event. Yeah, we actually are extremely close.
I know. And that's why I went off the beaten path, because I was like, I wasn't going to, but I'm like, no, we don't get addict here very often. So I want to hear some thoughts. And It is. It's getting exciting. We're 2 months out.
Oh
so.
man, we're ramping up. Even without the actual E3 show, I'm still as giddy as a 5-year-old schoolboy in the first day of Christmas. So I'm good to go. But let's go ahead and get to a couple other quick hitters too. And chat, if you want to just drop a couple questions, you can drop some questions in chat. We, more than welcome, no problem. So if you have anything that we may have missed, go ahead and drop it in there and we'll get to it. But there's a couple quick hitters. I wanted to talk a little bit about Minecraft Legends because it is a game coming up here. I believe the 18th it comes out. 18th, I believe, is the game releases day one Game Pass. I did see some really good stuff. I read some really good stuff about the game. Now, Pong, I want to ask you this specifically because one, it's ironic because Minecraft isn't something that you do, but this particular style of game you adore.
Yep.
So I'm kind of curious. I don't know if you've read or saw some of the stuff that's coming out about the game. It's extremely encouraging. Extremely encouraging. So I want to get your opinion on, like, now that you're hearing a little bit of rumble here and there from people that have played it, where are you at? Have you got you more excited for this game?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, it was already a game I was going to try because it's in Game Pass. And like I said, and like you just mentioned when we talked about in the past, I said right away, no, I don't like Minecraft. I have no interest in Minecraft, but you give me Minecraft RTS that I can co-op with people. We can build like mazes and castles and tower defense systems, and we can go search for resources. Yeah, of course I'm going to be in. Of course I'm going to try it out and see what it's like. And who the heck knows? I might be coming back on the Shop podcast in a few weeks going, man, Minecraft has got a winner right here. This is up there with some of the best RTSs. But no, I have been hearing the positive feedback and the rumblings that people are saying there's a lot more to this game than meets the eye, that it was a lot different than they thought it was going to be when they jumped into it, and that they were really enjoying themselves. So absolutely, of course, my hype level has gone up another notch for this because that gets me excited. Again, me, Mav, we're all going to be hopping in. Psycho, Jasper, might even wrangle Steel in there, even though he's not an RTS player anymore. He used to be. So yeah, no, I can't wait to jump in this game and try it out. And again, I don't look at it and say, oh, it's Minecraft, so I'm not going to play it. I'm not that dude. I tried Minecraft Dungeons. I played probably 20, 30 hours of Minecraft Dungeons. I didn't come out of it going, oh man, I don't need Diablo in my life anymore. This is the best. I didn't do that, but I still had a great time playing it. And so if Legends gives me that experience, man, more power. And if it's better than that and we're playing it on a regular basis because it's so dang good, hey, I don't care if it's Minecraft or what it is. What it is at the end of the day. If it's a great game, it's a great game.
True. Awesome. We got a $2 super chat. Shout out to Lemon. What's up, 108? My guy in chat. He said y'all want a Marvel Phase 5 layout. LOL, damn, Pong, for sure.
I'll give you Phase 10.
Man.
Listen, I'll break you down the plot points for X-Men, which we don't even know are coming, but I'll give you the plot
he
breakdown.
He would be in the building 5 minutes before security was throwing his ass out of there for just leaking everything, bro. Like, you just sat down in the chair.
Oh yeah, no. I got a 10 terabyte hard drive filled up already. We're out.
Oh my
Let's
goodness, bro. Like, just run it. DMs would be full with a bunch of stuff. But yeah, shout out to you, Lemon. Appreciate you, bro, for the $2 super chat and the love supporting here on the show, man. But we did get a question. So shout out to Luis Jose. He did throw us a question. He said, question for the panel. He said, when do you think we might have an Xbox mobile store, and do you think it will be the same app as Game Pass? So anybody want to jump in on that, Fuzz, Pong?
Ooh, I'm thinking we get that mobile app hopefully by like the early part of next year. Everything going smoothly with ABK. Let's say it gets wrapped up end of May, early June. I think we see the mobile app. I would like to say before the holidays, but I think by the first of the next year they should have like full rollout. It may be on the small side, but I know that they're already working on stuff on the background. Like if you look at the Microsoft Store on like PC, they've already made a few changes and they keep on doing updates to kind of make it somewhat mobile friendly as well. So that way it'll just be a matter of adding additional content and stuff like that.
Yeah, Tom Warren actually did that article. I think it was last week or maybe the week prior, where he said March 2024 that's when to keep your eyes open, because that's when they will launch that mobile, assuming that ABK goes through and that they're not in limbo still with that deal. That March 2024 is when that goes live. That's what they're planning for right now. So yeah, no, definitely a good call there, Fuzzy, because it's going to be right around that early part of 2024. As far as it's going to be the same app as the Game Pass app, no, it'll be it'll be an actual storefront. They're going toe to toe with Apple and Google. So this will be an actual storefront. It's going to be a Microsoft storefront. It's going to be an app that can go on iOS, that can go on Android, and that's the master plan. That's why this ABK deal is so huge. So big. It's going to be a big to do when that drops for sure.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of moving parts, and people forget about that aspect too. So, all right, let's go ahead and get to another question here. We got the questions rolling in, man. So shout out to Bacon, man. What's up? He said question, and I think we might have talked about this last week, but good question nevertheless. He said, how long do you think each show will be on the 11th? I think Xbox show is an hour and 30 to 45 minutes for Starfield. That was a great question. I think we talked about this a little bit last week, but I guess I'll just throw it out there first. Traditionally, these Xbox showcases have been anywhere from 90 minutes to to maybe a little longer. We did have one that was over 2 hours one year, didn't we? Or very close to 2 hours.
Last year was 90 minutes, right?
90 minutes, yeah. So I think they keep the status quo. I mean, now obviously we got to keep in mind that this depending on what happens with the ABK stuff, but I don't even if it does close before, I don't think they're going to try and shoehorn the ABK stuff in at the last minute. I think, whatever was already planned for Activision is kind of going to go the way it will this year. I think it might be a bit too late to try and figure out how to shoehorn that into an already established show, because we know these things take months to plan, right? So, and they already knew that the ABK stuff was going to be dragged out probably right up until E3 or after at this particular point in time, depending on what happens with the trial. But I think hour and 30 for the show. I was thinking about the Starfield show, and I'm no less than 30 minutes. I don't know why it couldn't be half an hour. I don't know why 30 minutes seems like perfect. Now, I mean, depending on how deep they're going to give us as far as a deep dive, but I think half an hour, 30 to 40 minutes is perfect. I don't really think they might have enough to give us an hour. As big as the game is, they probably could do 60 minutes, but I think 30 to 40 is probably a sweet spot. So anybody else want to take that?
Yeah, I think Xbox. This is what I would do. Again, I'm just kind of going off history here and where Xbox is at, and kind of what the sweet spot is for a total show, because you got to kind of look at this like a total show, because it's back to back, right? Yeah. So you got people sitting there, for the full whatever allotment of time it's going to be. I think Xbox wants to keep this at 2 hours total. Between both.
That would be good.
Here's where I'll go. I'll go. I think that the main showcase, the Xbox showcase, is an hour and 15. I think that they keep it a little bit more compact this year. I don't necessarily think that we have as much necessarily to see big, like, blowout wise, because Starfield got its own thing. So I think that's going to chop down a little bit, save a little bit of time as well. So I think an hour and 15 and then 45 minutes for Starfield. I would love to see an hour for Starfield. And I think that Todd could do it, because again, when they announced the showcase, he said, we've got so much more to show you. So that tells me that they're going to want to get pretty much every kind of idea that they have mechanic wise, what this game's going to be like, out to the public in this showcase. Of course, they'll break it down later and probably smaller interviews and that kind of stuff as well. But I think up front, they're going to want to front load this with as much information as possible. So I think hour 15 for the main showcase, 45 for Starfield. That would be perfect for me. I would take that all day. Now, if they do an hour, even better for me. The more Starfield, the better. If they want to do an hour 45 of Starfield and 15-minute Xbox showcase, I'm down. Let's go. Let's go. That's fine.
Go ahead, Fuzz. I don't know if you want to take this first.
I was thinking it was going to be more of like a little bit over an hour, give or take, kind of like what Pong was saying for like the main showcase. But I thought it was only going to be like maybe 30 minutes total for Starfield, like 20 minutes of gameplay, 10
thinking.
Minutes of like in and out, where Todd gives some highlights on some of the mechanics or some of the things that you'll encounter in your early travels and things like that. But I think it's pretty much like a 20-minute solid gameplay with some highlights in between to add another 5 or 10 minutes worth. But I hope we get as much as they have have the time and spotlight for. I mean, if they stream it for an hour and a half for the main show and an hour for Starfield, they're going to have an audience. There's going to be people watching it, on the edge of their seats, watching the whole thing from end to end. So, however long they want to take will be great. But I was just thinking,
I was just gonna give
oh,
you. I was just gonna give you a little background. Fallout 4
mhm.
showcase was 34 minutes long,
Okay.
and I think they've got more to show with Starfield. That's why I would push it a little
Yeah.
bit out. So, but that's roughly. I was gonna try to find the Fallout 3 showcase too, but that's going way back. So I went with something a little bit newer. So
Yeah.
Fallout 4 was 34 minutes. So just to give you a rough idea.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the showcase either way. Whether it's an hour and a half, 2 hours, a half a day, I'm watching the whole thing from end to end.
I know, right? Same.
I want to watch Todd play it from start to end. Let's go.
I know, right? Crazy.
Let's do it.
Crazy. I mean, and you got to consider too, like you said, how important this game is. So they're gonna want to answer some. They want to get the obvious questions out of the way and maybe then focus on some small details. So I can see it being a little longer than 30, maybe 40 minutes, give or take 35 to 40 minutes. That's a good. I don't want it to run too long. No, listen, this is the thing, right?
Todd, don't listen to PTK right now. Turn off the show.
I didn't mean that it would be detrimental to the game or it would take away anything. I just think that, you show what you need to show, you leave the rest up for, remember, you get the questions out of the way, the obvious stuff out of the way that people are going to ask. You show some of the mechanics that you've talked about, right? Like some of the stuff that people are really going to dive into, like, all right, how far can I really go? Or, what does this random other planet look like? Is it, what I mean? Some of them other obvious questions they'll answer. And then they'll get into some of the other cool shit. Like, oh, by the way, you can do all of this other shit too. Like that you probably didn't even think about, doing in the game. So I think they'll highlight some of the, gameplay mechanics, things like that.
The biggest thing I want to see, though, is that I want to see Todd or whoever playing on an Xbox controller off of a Series console.
Yeah, that would be nice to see.
Yeah,
that's what I'd love to see at this showcase. And if they wanted to give us like a switch over mid gameplay to like a Series S, just to show us what it's going to be like,
that would be cool
to answer that question. I don't think they're going to do that, but I think that would be cool. But I think that I believe that they have to show. They should. They don't have to do any thing they don't want to. But they should show it on the Series X at least being played.
Yes,
I agree. And that's one of the things that I was talking about. Like, I don't know, when I said obvious question, I don't know if that's one of them for them specifically for Bethesda. I don't know if they look at that and say, oh, that's important for us to answer that during the showcase.
They know the 60 frames question is out there.
That's what I'm saying. That was going to be where I was going to go next. That's one of the most obvious things that they're going to probably have to highlight, and they'll get it out of the way right away. I'm sure it won't take very long for them to mention it. Maybe they won't mention it, but I'm assuming they will, just to not have to deal with that for the next 2 months until the game actually comes out. Just get the shit out of the way, get the question answered, so that way people don't have any, if it's not 60 or 45 or whatever the case may be, people can get that out of their system before the game drops. Let it breathe, because stuff like that tends to hover. But I think once we get that information, and I do think it'll be 60, by the way, just for my own, if I'm betting, I do think I do think they figured out a way to make it 60, even if the resolution's a bit lower than desired. But I think we'll take one more question and then we're gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up. Because I am starving and I know I got to take my meds too. But I think we're gonna grab Splendiferous question. Shout out to you. He said, great question here. He said, do you think if Redfield, sorry about that, I got it mixed up. Do you think if Redfall hits the right way, will it gain an audience like Fortnite or even Battlefield? That's a bit ambitious. Fortnite's a once in a 100 years type thing. But I get what you're saying, right? I know you're not literally saying will it take off like Fortnite. But it could happen. It's possible. I don't know, Pong. You sound like you were going somewhere with that.
I was gonna say a different style game, right? Because it's not multiplayer. It's a co-op, right? So you got a different,
and it's not a BR either.
Right, it's not a BR like Fortnite, but even going with the Battlefield stuff, it's not multiplayer, right? So it's not that brings a different audience from a co-op style game. Do I think that if Redfall hits, like we could see like some pretty big numbers of engagement out of it? Of course, absolutely, because it's going to be in Game Pass, it's going to be on PC. So absolutely, of course I do. If it is a fun co-op looter shooter that people really enjoy, I think it could reach potentially Borderland type numbers, right? That's what I would be more in line with, was like Borderland engagement type numbers. I definitely could see it getting to that point if it hits the right way, for sure.
Yeah, no,
I'm
for
thinking
go ahead, bro.
it for a baseline. I think it surpasses Deathloop. I'm
Yes.
not sure what
Yes.
the numbers are for Sea of Thieves as far as concurrent stuff, but I would say it will be probably closer to that than Halo or Forza as far as overall. And I think it will have its own, tight knit community that are going to be into not just vampires but the looter shooter aspect of it. I think the big thing is going to be everybody's going to, much like what we've done in Division, where it comes down to theory crafting and having like certain synergies between two different characters or two different you know tech tree builds and things like that. I think that's going to be the big draw to it. But I think this thing does really well, and may not stand up there in the pyramid of like Halo or anything like that. But I think it'll definitely hit a lot harder than Deathloop right now.
Yeah,
See if these last 30 days on Steam were 14,000 average.
I think it'll do better than that at
yeah.
some point. Like it may, I would say it'll be like a plus or minus a
At
couple
Steam.
couple
So,
grand
yeah.
on Steam.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up on that one then. Um, yeah, so let's go ahead and get on up out of here. But first, before we do that, thank you guys for all watching. You guys are amazing. Shout out to chat, shout out to Attic. I know you had to leave a little early. So if you're watching this on the replay, Attic had to take off, but shout out to him, everybody at ILP. Once again, go show them some support and love. Some of the most dedicated, honest, high integrity individuals, gamers that you'll ever, you'll ever go see. So go check out LogNet. They give good information. They do great reviews. Just really, really high quality stuff. So go show them the love and support that they deserve. I appreciate you guys all personally. Thank you guys. It's been a tough week for me with my injury and things, but coming to the show, having you all in chat, having my brothers here with me in Attic, it's been a good boost of energy for me. So I thank you guys for that. But let me go and turn this over to my partners, man. You guys are amazing and awesome. Let's go ahead and start with you, Fuzz. A great show, man. I know you on the road, the hotel Wi-Fi, but we made it. We
Yeah,
made it through.
yeah,
It wasn't did it worked out for us, but let everybody know where they can
yeah.
find you.
It was just awesome being on here with you guys, and definitely want to thank Attic for joining us earlier today and stuff like that, and everybody in the chat and those that will catch us on replay. Greatly appreciate you guys checking us out. For those that want to hear my rambles or rants on anything gaming related, mainly racing games, just follow me on Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere, or well, actually even on YouTube, fuzzy_Belvedere. Man, I definitely need to start working on more videos, but man, it's always awesome being here with you guys. Look forward to next Saturday.
Awesome, man. And shout out to you, Fuzz, for being here. Like I said, even on the road, man, that dedication and consistency. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Shout out to Wifey as well for allowing you to take the time
Yeah.
to hang out with us here on Saturday. I mean, it being on the road and everything, man. But thank you so much, bro. You're a big part of the show. But just gonna throw this over to the battery of the Shop Podcast, the Dura. So Mr. Pong Soul, man. Great show. Addict was awesome, man. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Absolutely. As of tomorrow, everybody, we are 150 days away from Starfield. Just so y'all know.
Yeah, officially.
150. 150. So yes, I can't wait. Anyways, first of all, PTK, I'm just glad you're doing better, brother, and that you could make the show and
Yeah,
you could
man.
do this, man. So I know it's been a real rough week for you. So but glad to have you here, man. Glad to hear your voice, and I'm glad we could do this show because I do know how that works. It takes your mind off things and it helps out. So glad we could get this done tonight. Awesome to have Attic on here as well. I'd love to hear his thoughts and the great things that ILP are doing over there. So great to have one of the Lords on here for sure. And Fuzzy, thanks for making it, brother. Even though you're down there with the Gators, I appreciate it. And glad that you could find a way to make it happen, man. Not everybody does that, man. That's called dedication.
Yeah,
right?
man.
So,
I was saying that.
heck yeah, man. So shout out to Fuzz for being here as well. But great to talk to you tonight, brothers. Listen, Pong Soul on Xbox, Pong Soul on Twitter. You guys all know that stuff. Next week, Xbox Factor podcast every Tuesday, Double Barrel Gaming, Mr. Boomstick, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. All good things green every Tuesday. Be there. And of course, then it rolls into Thursday night where we really get things started. PM in the PM, Pong and Mav in the PM every Thursday night. If you didn't catch Thursday's show, go check it out. We had a week off a couple weeks ago. We were back this week. Great community that Mav is building over there. We're having such a fun time. Be there every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time, 2-man show unless we have a guest. And then Friday nights, Fuzzy, I don't know if you listened in, Fuzzy, but you might want to go back and listen in. We got wild last night, brother. Like Mav's not even going to try to monetize that show last night. We had Pickle Papa on, Game Pass Dad was on, and he was in rare form. And man, I can't even say the topic that we got onto on here because I don't want PTK to have any problems. But man, we went on and on, so you got to go listen to it. Xbox Ultimate every Friday night.
Wow.
Sometimes it gets really crazy. We do talk gaming, but we laugh a ton. And last night was no different. The chat was nuts. I couldn't believe what was going on. It was funny. But anyways, be there every Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time on Fun Speculations channel again. And then, of course, Saturday mornings, it is Living Split Screen. Yes, we did miss this morning because Steele was feeling absolutely awful again. Shout out to him. I know he's starting to feel a little bit better, but it was really bad. It has to be bad for him to cancel one of our shows. We don't like to do that. He misses it as much as I do. But Saturdays, it's Living Split Screen, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. We get your weekend started live, raw, and uncut. So be there, tell a friend, and bring a friend because we're still on Mission 1K. And then, God willing, I'll be back here for the Shop Podcast next Saturday night. Listen, folks, Golden Age is upon us. We are getting games galore, especially if you're hanging out in the Xbox ecosystem right now. My gosh. We get Ghostwire Tokyo next week. We get Minecraft Legends after that. Games are just coming out of our ears right now. Get out there this weekend. Play what you love what you play. I'm going to talk to you all real soon. PTK, get us out of here, brother.
Appreciate you, Pong, man. You guys heard what Pong said, man. And it's your boy, PTK Blam, the host of the Shop Podcast, man. Follow me on Twitter, YouTube. Hit me up on Xbox Live if you ever want to play some games. My DMs are always open. So we got show 300 coming up pretty soon. So hopefully we got something special planned for that show, man. It's going to be a phenomenal time. By the way, don't forget, I did just drop a standalone video on the channel maybe a few hours ago, right before the show started. So go check that video out. Interesting topic regarding, a possible superhero for Xbox, possible superhero game. So if you're interested in that, go check it out. It's already up, man. Go watch it. Let me know how you feel. Give me that feedback. But other than that, man, we'll see you guys next week. Same time, same place. New guests. See you guys. Have a great weekend.
Later.